Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we are live on today's show. Tuning in today, if you're looking for the Pete Carroll press conference, don't worry, you're going to be in the right spot. If you want to watch the Pete Carroll presser with Cullen and I, you're going to be able to do that. So as soon as Pete Carroll takes the podium and starts answering questions from Raiders training camp, you can watch it here. You don't have to leave to go over to the Raiders YouTube channel. You're going to be able to watch the press conference here with me, and then afterwards, we're going to break down what exactly we thought of the overall message, the words, maybe some of the players that Pete Carroll was talking about. So if you guys want to shout out here on the Raiders Report, I want to get some Raiders down below. I don't know about y'all. Training camp is back. The rookies are in the building. The veterans are in the building. The coaching staff, the front office in the building. And you know what, man? I feel like football is freaking back, and I couldn't wait to be able to get here on today's program. Now, the reason why we are going live a little bit earlier is, again, because the Raiders head coach, Pete Carroll, he's going to be speaking to the media in about 29 minutes from now. So in the next 29 minutes, I want to answer Raiders questions. I want to see some super chats flowing. I already got my man White Hat, and I got Malachi B, who right now are the two top fans that we have here on today's show. We already have over 257 people in the building. If you haven't already, hit that like button because we made it through May. We made it through June. We've almost made it through entire month of July, which means Raiders football is so close to being back, I can frickin' feel it. So coming up here on today's show, we're going to do the Pete Carroll presser. Then I'm going to do a segment around everything there is to know around the Pete Carroll press conference, the players that he's talking about. Then ESPN, they recently put out an article breaking down the Raiders starting lineup on the offensive side of the football and the defensive side of the football. I'll give my 2 cents of what ESPN thinks that this Raiders lineup looks like, because there's some areas that I agree. And then there's some areas where I'm like, do y'all even know what's going on with the Las Vegas Raiders? And then another segment. It's going to be around some must-see Raiders rumors. We're going to be talking about some under-the-radar players, and ESPN kind of threw out some different distinctions, if you will. I don't want to give away the entire show. And then at the very end of today's program, we're going to do a $20 duck race. Yesterday, we gave away, I want to say it was like, what, $280, $285? I'd like to be able to give away over $300 today. So if you want to get in, $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. Let's go to the first one coming in here from my man White Hat. Before we start, much love, and I hope God blesses everyone here. Can't wait for the season. Raider Nation for life. You know what, man? I love being able to do this show. I love the fact that we got CJCSR down below, Ron Raspberry out here showing love. The amount of die-hard Raiders fans that we have pulling up here on July 22nd just to hear what head coach Pete Carroll has to say. I've been covering this team for a long time, and I think that this year is probably the year that I've been personally the most excited, and I think a lot of Raiders fans are also very excited about what this season is going to be bringing. Mark Bates, Emmanuel Sanchez, Jeff Garcia. Jeff Garcia is always a part of the Noti gang, and I recognize that photo from a mile away. Gary Backus is here in the building. A little bit of Ike Nasty showing up. Christopher Domingo, Ruben Rivera, White Hat. Much love to you. God bless to Raider Nation. I hope it's a hell of a year. Let's go to Malachi B. Feeling fired up today, knowing football is this week. So you know what? Here's going to be my question to Raider Nation. With the veterans reporting today, padded practice is going to be tomorrow. Out of all the rookies, out of all the veterans, out of every single player that is going to be rocking a silver and black jersey this upcoming season, who's the player that you're most excited to hear about? Because we know we're going to get reports from training camp. We know that there's going to be, reports on the offensive side of the football and the defensive side of the football. If you could pick one player that you're excited to hear about, listen about, watch about, who do you think that player is going to be? If you could, let me know down below. I see Ant Ballin's going to go with a Geno Smith. I see Dante Thornton Jr. from Captain Steve. Ike Nasty, what's up, brother? CJCSR, going to go with Ashton Genty. Jack Besh from Drew H. Elliot Lazo says Dante Thornton. Caleb G says Geno Smith. The reason why I'm going to sit up here and go Geno Smith is because of the most obvious answer I could possibly say. the quarterback position is the most important position in the NFL, and it's the position that we have really struggled at over the past 2 seasons. Of course, I want to watch Brock Bowers do his thing. Of course, I want to watch Ashton Genty, Max Crosby, all these other players. But to me, I believe that the Raiders are a playoff caliber team. And the player that I really think is going to decide if the Raiders make the playoffs or if we're one of the bottom feeders again, is going to be the play of our quarterback, Geno Smith. So for that reason, I am going to go with Geno. Also, before the live show started, I saw my guy Ron Raspberry, one of the greatest mods ever created here at the Raiders Report at Chat Sports. Let's freaking go, Ron Raspberry. He was asking y'all, how many wins do you think that the Raiders are going to have this season? If you haven't already voted yet at the top of that live poll, I really, really hope that you end up doing so. Let's go to my man Amp Ballin, and he's going, Raiders! Amp Ballin, bringing the energy. We got 340 people in the show right now, and if you haven't already, make sure you click that like button, because this is the way I look at it. I look at it right now as that there are 340 people sitting in the black hole, and only 90 y'all are on their feet. Come on, man. I've been to the black hole. I've been to the Oakland Coliseum. I know y'all can do it. Today's deals here on the Raiders Report are as follows. Every $5 super chat that we get today, we're going to enter you into our fantasy football raffle. Now, Cullen, and for those of you that do not know, Jeremy, he will be back tomorrow. So today, I got my guy, Cullen Brown, the only person I've ever seen beat Jeremy Chuggs in a boot race. Every $5 super chat that comes in today, Cullen, if you could document it in our doc here, which I will send you real quickly, that would be much, much appreciated. So basically every 5, if somebody sends in a 10 like White Hat, just give him 2.
Gotcha.
Cool. If somebody sends in a 20, just give them 4. If you want to get in the duck race, it's a $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. And if you're down to bang, because if you want to be a top fan, if you want to be the person that would be literally number 1, I see some people down below have crowns next to their name. It is a brand new feature on YouTube, which I will mention here in just a moment, because anytime YouTube throws out something new, I want to be able to educate you guys, and I want to be able to talk to you all about it. So if you want a crown next to your name, I guarantee you this, if you bang, you're going to get a crown next to your name. So if you're looking for our July bang race as it stands right now, my guy Patrick Roche is leading the race with 12 bangs. Then you got Covutter at 10, Fabian Moreno, the Night Devil, at 7. And there is a lot of people tied for second place. Just win, baby. Ryan Campbell, a ton of people tied there with 2 bangs. Whoever bangs the most in the month of July, you're going to be entered in our Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. And if you're wondering, Mitch, what are the fantasy football raffle tickets for? They're going to be also to get in the Fantasy Football League. Winners will be announced July 31st, so make sure you're tuning in. I also wanted to do some because, again, YouTube's got this brand new feature. It's called Top Fans, and I'm doing a Top Fans deal today. If you finish in the top 3, I'm going to give you 50 raffle tickets. So as it stands right now, that would be White Hat, it would be King, and it would be Rick Kelly. Y'all would get 50 raffle tickets. If you're in the 4th to 10th spot, I'm going to give you 25 raffle tickets. If you're from 11 to 20, I'm going to give you 10 raffle tickets for a shot to get in our Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. I also do got to give a huge special shout out to yesterday's MVP, my guy Covutter. He ended up having 10,075 XP points. To my knowledge, this is the most XP points I have ever seen on a Raiders Report show to this time, and I wanted to show some love to the top 10. Because it's a new feature, I think that there's a lot of amazing people that do, a lot of amazing shit on this show all the time. So here were the top 10 XP getters on our live Raiders Report show yesterday, and if you're like, dude, how the heck do I get in the top 10? How the hell do I get in the top 3? This is how YouTube has described it to me and to everybody out there. What is the leaderboard? You send in live chat messages, you send in super chats and super stickers. So if there is somebody that's like, Mitch, I can't super chat, the more you comment down below, the more XP you're going to get. It's a new thing that YouTube just launched, and I know that we have a very interactive YouTube channel, so I just really wanted to be able to show some love to some people that really rock with us here, because at the end of the day, I do this because the nation is, I think, the best fan base in the world. You guys show me the utmost love, and the more opportunities I get to show the faces that support this channel, I'm always going to do that. Let's go to Rick Kelly. He's got a you in. Welcome back, Mitch. How was the honeymoon? Let's go, Raiders. The honeymoon was amazing. It was my longest time off here at Chat Sports since I started back at 2017. The amount of quality time that Alex and I had and, just doing nothing besides having good food, having good drinks, just hanging out by the beach, by the pool. It was an unbelievable experience. Though, we did have a 30-hour layover altogether. 10-hour layover going there and a 20-hour layover coming back. I had to spend an extra night in Mexico at a hotel called the Fiesta Inn. And let's just say it was a party. Let's go to Drew. Do you expect full attendance for training camp? I personally do. I mean, does everybody who's watching this show right now, give me a Y for yes and for no, expect full attendance? To me, the one player that I was a little bit nervous about was Jack Bech, and I know right before my honeymoon, I ended up staying on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365 that I expect Jack Bech to be there. Because to me, I knew that Bech and the 30 other rookies that didn't sign that, second round deal essentially, they probably didn't want to upset the other team, the other agents, all those other people. But to me, I didn't care about the 30 other second-round picks. All I give a shit about is the guys that are rocking silver and black. So I was proud that Jack Bech signed that dotted line. And yes, he might have lost some guarantees. But you don't want to be behind the 8 ball because you got Dante Thornton Jr., you got Trey Tucker. You're trying to go out there and you're trying to compete for a starting spot. Now, some people might go, well, what about Christian Wilkins? He's on the PUP list. If he passes a physical, he can get out there. Dude's dancing around in Crocs. Looks pretty happy. That's a very encouraging sign to me. I would love to have a healthy Christian Wilkins this upcoming season. But with Pete Carroll, that compete mentality, I think it's going to be really, really important for every single Raiders player to be there, be in attendance, and show that we're doing our thing. Jacoby Myers and Colt Miller, though, will be two players that I am going to keep a close eye on. Let's go to Whitehead! Bang! The first one of the day. Give me those XPs from Whitehead. Now, you guys can see, if you could show the top board real quick for the top fans, my guy Cullen, that would be much, much appreciated. If y'all want to shout out here on the Raiders Report, give me some WHs down below for Whitehead. Making it rain today, getting all the XP. Now, again, if you're trying to become a top fan here on the Raiders Report, as it stands right now, here are the top 3 fans that are watching this show. It's your name. It'll tell you how much XP you have. I don't know the mathematical equation of how YouTube doctors this up, but what I do know is this. If you super chat and if you comment down below, I bet you also if you hit that like button as well, it would probably help out generate some XP. But here are some other people that are watching the show. And reminder, the higher you are ranked today on our YouTube's top fans, the more raffle tickets that you're going to get to join our fantasy football league. And we're going to announce that winner July 31st. So if you see your name, Dalroy Rogers, keep on chatting. Keep on chatting. Let's go to the next super chat coming in here. And again, White Hat, you're an absolute freaking legend, dude. Ed Robbins, Mitch, I'm excited to see Darian Porter, and we will win 10 minimum with a possible of 12. Dude, I would love to be able to sit up here and say that I agree that 10 is our minimum, but I just don't think I don't think it's me being honest. I would say the minimum amount of games that I expect this Raiders team to win is 6 games. That's the minimum. That is an upgrade compared to what we were last season. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of games, but I'm talking about floor. I think ceiling for the Raiders is probably around 12 games, and I anticipate that they're going to be right around that 8, 9, 10 win marker if Geno plays well, if Ashton Genty runs the ball effectively. But I really think that if we're going to get into that 10, 11, 12 win mark, our defensive line has to be healthy. I want a healthy Christian Wilkins. I want Christian Wilkins to be the player that when the Raiders signed him last offseason, everybody on this show, we were standing up, we were jumping around, we were in celebration because with the secondary that we have right now, it's going to be really critical for that front 4, for that front 5 to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. I really do think that the defensive line is going to be one of the biggest factors. What about the offensive line? If we go out and drafted Ashton Genty, you need guys like JPJ to take that next step forward. Colt Miller to play the way that he did 6 to 18 weeks over the back end of last season. DJ Glaze to get a little bit better. Dylan Parham, Alex Kappa, Jordan Meredith, Thayer Munford maybe. You need those guys to be able to step up. How does Michael Mayer look with Brock Bowers? I do think that this team has some legit upside. And you could also say that a corner like Darian Porter, Ja'Cory Bennett, Eric Stokes. Like, I know that this secondary room, especially the corners, there's a lot of unknowns, right? I mean, it's a cold, hard fact. There's a lot of unknowns. But we also have to be able to sit here and go, you know what, though? I do believe in Pete Carroll. He's done a great job his entire career with super athletic corners, and that's what this room has. Super athletic corners. They're just a little bit unproven. Let's go to my man Malachi B. What up, Malachi? Get a picture, Malachi. We should be excited to hear about our coaches. One of the things that I'll talk about today on the show, and I don't want to give away one of the segments that I'm going to bring up, but one of the things that I'll discuss is I think that the Raiders coaching staff, and when I say the Raiders coaching staff, I mean offense, defense. You look at the front office, John Spytek, Tom Brady, Pete Carroll. I don't think that there is another team in the NFL that upgraded more off the field, you know what I mean, like from a front office and coaching standpoint, more than the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, I don't know if y'all saw Tom Telesco. He got a new job today. He's working now on TV doing something radio, I don't know. But Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce, no disrespect to them, but going from AP and Telesco to Pete Carroll and John Spytek, I mean, that is such an elite upgrade. Going from Luke Getsy to now Chip Kelly, come on, man. Elite upgrade. The fact that we kept Patrick Graham, the fact that we kept Rob Leonard. You know, like I really do believe that this coaching staff is going to be one of the reasons that you see a team like the Washington Commanders, I think, are the perfect example of they were a bad football team. They got a quarterback. They got a great GM. They got a great head coach, and they brought that compete mentality. That's what Washington did. The way that they built their team is the exact same way the Raiders are building their team this year. It's really important to have depth. Free agency, a lot of depth. Draft, a lot of depth. I am excited about this coaching staff. I think it's one of the better coaching staffs in the NFL, low-key, because there's not many coaches, and I know I've said this 100 times. There's not many coaches. When you sit at that round table of AFC West coaches and you're looking at Andy Reid, you're looking at Sean Payton, you're looking at Jim Harbaugh, I don't know if there's many NFL coaches that you could have gone out and got that when they sit down at that table, they feel like they belong. And Pete Carroll feels like he belongs at that table. And no disrespect to AP. He had no shot, really. I mean, when you saw the way that it ended up going down, you could tell he was in over his head. And there are just certain guys that are built to be coordinators. AP's probably built a little bit more to be a linebacker coach, where Pete Carroll has said, hey, I've won a Super Bowl. I've won a national championship. I deserve to sit at this table. And from man to man, from man to woman, whoever here is watching this show, if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, you're not going to win on Sundays. If you don't have confidence in what you're doing, I don't care if you host a YouTube show. I don't care if you're producing a YouTube show. I don't care if you're a UPS driver, if you work, whatever you do. If you don't have confidence, you're not going to be successful at it. Let's go to my man Ron Raspberry, who's sending in the good vibes, my dude. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Let's keep it rolling here because my man Rob, who right now with that super chat has jumped up to second place on our top fans. Let's go to Eric M., who you know. Eric M. always rocking the corn the long way shirt. Eric, it's good to see you, dude. I'll also say probably one of my favorite parts about this time of the year is, I know I use the term real ones a lot, and if you've ever heard me say it, a real one to me is somebody that, like, think about your close circle, friends, family, that it don't matter what you do. You could sit down at a campfire, you could go swimming, you could watch a movie. When you got your core of people, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to have a good time. And this time of the year, I get it. People are busy, May, June, and July. But we start to see some familiar faces coming back over and over and over again. And I think it's super cool. It's like a Raiders Report family reunion every single July, every single August. Get ready for September, dude. It's going to be wild. Gary, keep on backing it up. Okay, Mitch, get on the phone with John and Pete and get an extension for Miller and Mayer done. I mean, at this point, I have been extremely loud about wanting both Colton Miller and Jakobi Meyers contracts to get done. But at the same time, I'll say it like this, because to me, this is the only way that it makes sense. If you're going to go out and trade for Geno Smith and give him a contract extension, I don't understand how you don't tie Colton Miller and Jakobi Meyers to the player that, like a Geno Smith. To me, it personally doesn't make a lot of sense. I also think Jakobi and Colton Miller, both 28, 29 years old, they still have 3 good years left in the NFL, no doubt about it. I think also they are humble leaders. They are players that if you're going to get guys that are that talented showing up to non-mandatory events, Those are the type of guys I want on my team. In today's day and age in the NFL, sports in general, we got too many me guys. Too many guys, oh, pay me this, pay me that. If you don't do it, I'm going to sit out. And for the Raiders, you have two really good football players that have shown you, that have said that I want to be Raiders. I don't know how you don't extend two guys like that. Do I believe in Jack Besh? Of course I do. Do I believe in Dante Thornton Jr.? Of course I do. Could those guys maybe be a plan to move on from Jacoby next season? Maybe. Could Charles Graham, Caleb Rogers, some of these other offensive linemen, could that be a plan to move on from Colt Miller? Maybe. But if you're trying to build something for the long haul, how do you not extend two players like Colt Miller and Jacoby Myers? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I would hope that a deal does end up getting done, because if you tell you this, if you wait until next offseason and they hit the open market, the price tag's going to go up. Like I sat up here on this show and I asked and screamed for the Raiders to give Max Crosby a contract extension before Myles Garrett, before TJ Watt, before all these other players that we knew were going to get a deal. Now listen to all the bullshit that the Cowboys are going on with Micah Parsons, because Micah's going to want more than what those guys got. I think when you are smart, ahead of the curve, and you know that you have a valuable player and you have two valuable players in Miller and Meyer, you get those deals done. But I'll also look at the other end is this. If you know that those are two players that showed up with $0 million guaranteed and they showed up to non-mandatory things, maybe if you're the Raiders, you're going, maybe they're willing to play on that contract. And if they're willing to play on that contract, then maybe you allow them to play on that contract. Let's go to Ron Raspberry. Let's go, Nation. I'll be at camp on the 2nd and want to see Genty be what everybody believes he can be. Thank you, Mitch, for the kind words earlier. Ron, thank you, dude. Like, the fact that you are a mod, the fact that you're always a part of the Noti gang, the fact that, you and I have had a few opportunities to talk face-to-face. I know we've never shaken hands, but I'm looking forward to it one day. In terms of Genty, I can't wait to see what he's able to do. But how many other people, is anybody else going to Raiders training camp this year? If you're going to go to Raiders training camp, let me know down below. I want to see some me's. And if you could, tell me which dates that you're going to be there. I know for me personally, it's going to be tough for me to get to training camp this season, but I am going to be out in Arizona when the Raiders and Cardinals play that Week 3 preseason game. I'm going to try to get out there. It's going to be that Friday. Fabian Moreno and I are going to be working out some details. So if you're out in that area and you want to grab a beer, maybe grab 2, probably 3, hit me up. Let's go to Eric M. Are the Raiders the biggest sleeper team in the AFC? If we can get to 10 wins, I think that gets us to the playoffs. First off, 10 wins getting into the playoffs is a question mark. And I only say that because I think all 4 AFC West teams, we can all agree, are a playoff caliber team. That's 4 teams right there. I think the Buffalo Bills are a playoff caliber team. Ravens, Bengals. I don't know if I want to say Steelers or not, but it's really hard to not count Mike Tomlin in terms of making the playoffs. I mean, I know we got Cullen here. Cullen, who are maybe some other AFC teams that you think people are potentially sleeping on? And if you don't think that the Raiders are a sleeper team, I'm not going to hate on you too much for it. But I do think that there is that factor of what Chip Kelly brings to the table, and this is a fun offense. Like, you can't deny Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty. JPJ is one of my favorite guys, which you'll hear about here in a little bit. But give me another team that you think could be a sleeper in the AFC.
I mean, a sleeper could be, somebody coming out of the AFC South. I mean, the Texans didn't really do a great job in terms of rebuilding their offensive line this season. So could a, team in the AFC South maybe potentially get a couple wins on the Texans? A couple division wins goes a long way, right, in the AFC wildcard fight. So could a team like the Colts, if Anthony Richardson ever figures it out? Could the Jaguars with the new head coach? To be honest, like in the AFC, the Raiders are going to be in that wildcard hunt. They're going to be around anywhere from 7 to 10, maybe 11 wins, and yeah, could they fight for, the potential 6th or 7th seed? Absolutely. So I would say, probably an AFC South team that we're not thinking about, whether that's the Colts or the Jags.
I just don't believe in Indy. I've never been a Trevor Lawrence fan.
That's fair.
I think Texans are by far the superior team in that division. But I mean, the Browns stink. I think the AFC East stinks outside of the Bills. Like, I don't think the Dolphins are a good team. I don't think the Jets are a good team. I don't think that the Patriots could be a sneaky team, because y'all know that I've been a Drake May fan, and I do think that that's going to be an intriguing roster with a guy like Mike Vrabel, but I do think that the Raiders are going to be a sneaky team, and right now I'm looking at the live poll here, Eric M., and the live poll has 57% of the votes saying that the Raiders are going to win 9 to 10 games. So for those that do not know, we have 450 people watching this show live right now. Pete Carroll is going to take the podium in about 5, maybe 10 minutes. As soon as Pete takes that podium, you don't need to leave this live show. You can watch the Pete Carroll press conference live here on the Raiders Report. You can watch it with me. It'll be right up on your screen. So you don't have to leave. You can keep on interacting down below in the comment section. Oh, this guy. I've missed this guy. Cast Joey! Bang! Damn. I don't know if it was said already, but Ozzy just passed away. R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne has just passed away at the age of 76. You know, I was literally just looking down, and I saw something pop up, and I was like, what is that exactly? I think probably the craziest video I've ever seen that an actual human being do is bite the head off of a bat at a concert. Like, I mean, I'll tell you this right now. I've done a spicy chip challenge. I've eaten a gummy bear that is 9 million Scoville units. I've had Jell-O shots out of dudes' belly buttons. I've done some weird stuff on this show. I would never bite the head off of a bat. I mean, I don't know. It would take a Raider Ron, David Zahn type of level of Venmo for even me to consider it.
Yeah.
No, R.I.P. though,
R.I.P.
to the great Ozzy.
R.I.P. indeed. I mean, one of the greatest, musicians of our generation. I mean, he's an absolute legend. Rest in peace. Gone way too soon, man. That's, jeez, man.
The only, and I hate to say, the only good part about this cast is, hang on a second. Oh, never mind. I just saw something on Quandre Diggs. The only part that I'll say about this is this. I know my guy Brandon Jasper, R.I.P. to the great tuna. He was obsessed with musicians. And I know this, Ozzy and Brandon would have been crazy enough probably to bite a head off of a bat. So I would say the only positive thing that I'll say that's coming out of this is the fact that Brandon Jasper and Ozzy, they're up there smiling down at us right now. And I guarantee you this, Brandon's probably looking at him and goes, what are the top 5 favorite songs, Ozzy? Top 5 favorite songs. Cass Joey, dude, thank you so much for being an absolute legend, always on this show. And I'm still working to get your jersey. I have the jersey for your kiddo because I got the smaller one, but your size, the jersey I ordered, they gave me the wrong size, so I'm kind of working on your size of the jersey. Just be patient with me, but I do have your kid, so good news there. Let's go to John. What up, John? You think Malott will play quarterback in the preseason? It's a good question. The only reason why I'm probably going to go with no on this is because if I'm the Raiders, I don't want to give up any of the secrets that I potentially have with Malott. And if Malott plays QB this year, let's say he gets 5 snaps at quarterback. To me, they are in very critical situations of the game, and I don't even know if he actually touches the football. I would almost use him more as a decoy, because if it's up to me, if we're going to have somebody touch the football, Tommy Malott or Geno Smith, I want it to be Geno Smith every single time just because he is the better quarterback. But I think that we could see Malott do some fun stuff. But at the exact same time, I think preseason is more about seeing what you have in your players in terms of, how is he going to look in punt return? How is he going to look in kick return? How does he line up as a wide receiver in the slot? What is he looking like on jet motions? Do they put the ball in his gut? How often do they do that? For me, I would love for there to be a package of plays. Let's say there's 5 to 10 plays that Chip Kelly cooks up where you got Tommy Malott lined up out there in the slot. Geno Smith brings him over in motion, and then it's Tommy Malott right next to Geno Smith. Hike right to Malott. I think that is a very intriguing play that the Raiders could do, where I'm not a big fan of all the time of when a guy calls hike and then it's a QB rollout, but I do think there's a very interesting strategy of call QB hike, Tommy Malott, little quarterback rollout, and you put Brock Bowers over there in the flat, and you're going, hey, you're either going to come tackle Tommy Malott, who runs a 4.3 40, and you're going to give up on Brock Bowers, or you're going to go cover Brock Bowers, and you're going to let Tommy Malott scramble for 4 or 5 yards. He is truly a very, very athletic player, and I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to bring to the table. Cass Joey, shout out to you, my guy. Also, again, as soon as Pete Carroll ends up taking the podium, we will go to the press conference where Mr. Pete is going to be talking. Cass, you're a legend, and right now, I believe after that super chat, you're probably going to be number one for our top fans. Let's go to David Booth. Offseason hype about UDFA Gainer, starting linebacker. I don't know if he's going to be a starting linebacker. I think that's going to be Jermaine Pratt and Landon Roberts, just because Patrick Graham typically goes with that 2 linebacker set. But I've been saying Amari Gainer for months is the guy to watch. He's a good coverage linebacker. He's been hanging out with the right people. He's got some of that speed where I think that in passing situations, you put Gainer out there and like maybe where you know they're going to be dropping back to pass, maybe you kind of exchange Devin White and Amari Gainer, and then your other linebacker core I think is going to be a little bit of mix of a Tommy Eichenberg, Cody Lindenberg. But I've been hearing a lot of good things about Lindenberg. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Amari Gainer as well. But I do expect Gainer to make an impact on this team this season, whether it's on special teams or whether it's at linebacker from time to time. What up, Ron? Have you gotten my Big Tuna jersey? I have to go double check. We just have ordered so many jerseys, and just because I was gone from my honeymoon and then I kind of fell behind during my wedding week. I'm not going to lie to you. I fell behind a little bit on some of that jersey stuff that I typically do, plus the person here at Chat Sports who handles a lot of that, they don't work here anymore. But if you got a jersey, I promise I'll end up getting it to you, because I just sent out an order the other day. It was like 30 jerseys. It was like Brock Bowers, Ashton Genties. I literally just sent out like 30 jerseys. What up, Cast? Changed Addy, so before you send out, shoot me a message. I'll be at week 1 and week 2. Got to rep out in Foxborough. Hell yeah, dude. How about this? Just you. I don't know if you have my number. I know we talk all the time on IG. Just send me the new address on Instagram, and I got you covered. Let's go to White Hat. If it's still happening, I'm low-key excited about a joint practice with San Francisco. Genty and Gino gonna eat. To my knowledge, the Raiders and the 49ers will do a joint practice. But at the exact same time, I do sometimes get a little bit nervous about joint practices. And if the Raiders players like it, I like it, because I understand that probably when you're going up against your own team over and over and over again, it kind of gets a little bit frustrating. And the Raiders want to build a team environment, and you want to have that compete mentality. When you have a compete mentality and you're going up against the same guys over and over, not that you create a rivalry, but there's going to be a lot of animosity building up. So when you get that opportunity to go up against another team, you really, I think, see like the true bonding and the true team building that Pete Carroll, Spy Tech, this entire regime wants to be able to bring to the table. But I don't know. There's sometimes I like joint practices, and then there are other times where personally I don't like it nearly as much. But White Hat, cheers to you. So we're still waiting here for the Pete Carroll press conference to happen. Here's going to be a deal that I'm going to give out, and this is a Ron Raspberry deal. If we get to 300 likes, we are 100 likes away. I'm going to give away 5 Raiders Report raffle tickets if you're trying to get on our fantasy football league, which the fantasy football league, it's going to be wild. It's going to be a lot of fun. I guarantee you that. Speaking of a lot of fun, holy cow. Hang on a second. I got a few people also that are trying to get in our duck race here. Mark Call, I got you in. Ron Raz, I got you in. Richard Engel, you, sir, are in. And then Fabian Moreno is in. As it stands right now, it is a 20. Charles G. in. $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. You would go home with $50 as it stands right now. We gave away almost $300 yesterday. Honestly, I'd like to be able to try to give away $300 today on the show. So again, as soon as Pete Carroll takes to the podium, I promise you we will bounce over to that. You don't have to leave this live show, though. You'll be able to watch the Pete Carroll Presser. And then as soon as Pete gets done, I'll sit up here and I'll give you my biggest takeaways from what our head coach had to say. Though, I don't know if you guys hear that. Does anybody else hear like a little ringing in the side of their ear? You know what? Somebody actually is trying to get a hold of me, and it's Mark Call! Bang! What up, Mark? From the top rope, Mr. Mark Call. Mark, this is going to be one of those names that you got to teach me how to pronounce this last name, because I don't know if Anthony Bemondi is here, but I probably practiced that name 30 times yesterday, and I still can't get it right. Ron Raspberry said, can we get 250 likes before the presser?
Hit that like button.
Let's go. Let's get 300 likes before the presser.
Oh, we're starting.
It does look like Pete Carroll is officially taking the podium, so we will hop over to Pete, and we will listen to what our head coach has to say. Just give us 2 seconds to be able to get this bad boy pulled up. But Pete Carroll, fire me the F up. I've been covering this team since 2018, and I'll say this right now. I can't honestly remember John Gruden, no. Josh McDaniels, no. Antonio Pierce, no. I can't think of a single head coach that when they took that podium, they have that level of expectation. But when you're a national champion, when you're a Super Bowl champion head coach, and you bring that type of mentality, and then you got a guy in the room like Tom Brady, like John Spytek, Chip Kelly, Patrick Graham, and a bunch of people around him that have done a lot of winning. You got to have that type of mindset. So I'll tell you this right now. If you guys could, can I get some PCs down below for Pete Carroll? Because I loved what I heard there. And, you know, he gave us a lot of coach speak. He gave us a lot of just simple, we'll say, words that, you know, are going to fire us up here a little bit. But there's one thing that I love about Pete, and I feel like his words have meaning. And I feel like his words have substance, where when Josh McDaniels used to take the podium, I felt like I was wasting my time for 10, 15, 20 minutes because it was a whole lot of just words that I don't felt like had a lot of meaning behind them. Antonio Pierce could fire up a room, but Antonio Pierce was kind of like that substitute teacher that, you know, they said a lot, but you were also like, do they have what it takes to be successful? John Gruden, I know many, many years ago, and he is a very fiery guy. He's going to bring that type of mentality as well. But when you listen to Pete Carroll, he doesn't seem like he's 73 years old. And I do think that Pete is the head coach that maybe not all of us Raider fans wanted in the beginning. I know a lot of us were vying for Ben Johnson. I'm not afraid to admit it. I wanted Ben Johnson. But the more and more this offseason is gone, and the more and more you've seen how this team has been built in the draft, how this team was built in free agency, how this coaching staff, how this front office was built by Pete Carroll, John Spytek, Tom Brady, and maybe the most important thing, when you get somebody that maybe humbles Mark Davis a little bit, that makes Mark do things that you sit back and you go, wow, it actually looks like Mark Davis is figuring it out a little bit, that Mark is kind of giving up his reins and allowing somebody to take over for this organization. Pete Carroll, not all heroes wear capes, and I'm really, really hoping that we meet those expectations, because I asked all y'all earlier, how many games do you think that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to win this season? We saw some 8s, we saw some 9s, I get it, we've seen a lot of 10s, but Pete just told you, he's done a lot of winning over the last 20 years. He expects 10 games to win, and I love that type of mentality, because if you're doing this at age 73, if you're doing any job again without confidence, you're not going to go out there and do that job very well. So I'll tell you this right now. I have the utmost respect for Pete Carroll, and I see Lewis Dixon down below. Rebel Montana down below. King Shav, Caleb, Aleb, Emmanuel Sanchez, Tycoon Backwoods, all showing love to Pete Carroll. Because when Pete Carroll speaks, I listen. When Pete Carroll speaks, you all listen. And I also know this. I think for the first time in a few years, the Raiders players finally have a head coach that when he stands in front of them, not only is he firing them up like AP used to do, and not only does he come with a little bit of winning pedigree like Josh McDaniels came from. I think they took what Antonio brought to the table of let me fire you the F up, and somebody that came from a winning franchise and Josh McDaniels, you combine it together, and he's a 73-year-old man that would probably kick the shit out of you. And that's the type of guy that you need. Like, I want somebody that brings that Max Crosby mentality, somebody that brings that Brock Bowers mentality, somebody that brings the Jackson Powers Johnson type of mentality of, I'm going to run through your mother effing face, and you don't do anything about it. That's what Pete Carroll, to me, is going to be bringing to this team. And I'm telling you this right now, I am fired the F up for some Raiders football, baby. And if you do not know, we got an entire live show coming up here on the Raiders Report. I know I usually go live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. To the 555 people that are tuned in right now, if y'all want to hang out for the next 2.5, 3 hours, talk a little bit of Raiders. I'm here. I'm ready to do it. So let's go to a super chat coming in from my guy, Bishop DR. ESPN hating once again, and I'm not surprised. But I'm seeing us with more weapons than others in our division. I will be at camp tomorrow morning. Let's frickin' go Raiders. I'm okay with ESPN hating on the Raiders. Quite frankly, I won every single team, every analysis. Put us at 32 in the power rankings. I don't give a shit. I want people to put us dead last in the AFC West because I think when you have a team that's got leaders, again, humble leaders like a Max Crosby, like an Ashton Genty, like a Geno Smith, like a JPJ, like a Brock Bowers, and you have coaching staff that's won a lot. Chip Kelly's won a lot. John Spytek's won a lot. Tom Brady's won a lot. Pete Carroll's won a lot. Patrick Graham, believe it or not, has also done a very good job to being able to develop players. I think when you have a bunch of people that have done nothing but realistically win throughout their entire career, and you look at them and you tell them that they're not going to be good and they're going to lose, you're going to carry that extra chip on your shoulder. And when you're carrying that extra chip on your shoulder and you're showing up to camp every day, like Pete said, these guys are going to go out there and they're going to compete. These guys are going to practice hard. In today's day and age in the NFL, you got way too many teams that don't want to upset players, that don't want to go out there and they don't want to practice hard. I think what Pete just said is this. We're going to go out and we're going to practice harder than anybody else. And I think that that's going to translate in September, in October, in November. And if you can get to December and January and you're playing your best version of football, the style of football that this Raiders team is going to play, it's not a brand of football that teams are going to want to go up against in January because you're going to feel the Raiders every single week. That I guarantee you. Bishop DR, thank you, man, for tuning in. Let's go to Gary Backus. Okay, Mitch, get on the phone with John and Pete and get an extension done. I think that was from earlier. No doubt the most dialed-in coach in front office in over 20-plus years. Completely agree. Like, I think when we really sit back and we look at this entire Raiders season, entire Raiders picture, there's going to be a lot of people that point at the draft free agency from a player standpoint. But if we could sit back and look at the grade on the Raiders coaching staff front office of what they did, and to get Mark Davis to honestly have the Raiders operate like a smart franchise. Like, and I don't really know how other way to put it besides that. But to me, the Raiders are operating like a smart franchise, and I think that goes all the way back to Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, John Spytek, because Mark is going, all right, I'm not going to handle it anymore. I'm going to let you guys do it. And the people that he actually has at the wheel can actually get it done. Also, there was some big-time NFL news that ended up happening during that Pete Carroll press conference. Tyrone Matthew, the Honey Badger, has retired from the NFL, which now opens up a spot, which I'm going to be honest with you. I have been somebody up here that has said, I want the Raiders to go out and get a Justin Simmons. I want the Raiders to go out and get a Julian Blackmon. I want the Las Vegas Raiders to potentially add a free safety. The fact that now New Orleans is going to be without one of their starting caliber safeties, keep an eye on New Orleans to potentially make a domino to fall. And a lot of times when certain dominoes fall in the NFL, more and more dominoes fall after that. So I'm just saying, keep an eye on the Saints. Keep an eye on what they're doing from the free safety market in general. Gary Backus, shout out to you. Those are all the super chats that we have right now. So coming up here on today's live Raiders Report show, I got 3 segments for you. If you want to hang out with me, with my guy Cullen for the next 2-3 hours, I hope that you don't go anywhere else. So what we got coming up here is this. I got 3 segments, and we're going to be doing a duck race. If you want to get in, it's a $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. Some of the people that I saw just get in to the duck race. LA Crash Dog, I got you in. Carlos Rod, Gary Backus, Jack Calhoun. I got both of y'all, all 3 of y'all, all 4 of y'all in this duck race. If you want to try to put some money in your pocket today, Venmo me at Mitchell Renz 365. $20 Venmo. Right now you would go home with $90 here on the Raiders Report. So, first segment coming up is going to be my reaction to everything that Pete Carroll said. Then we're going to go into ESPN. They revealed the Raiders starting lineup on the offense, defensive side of the football. I'll break that down. And then at the very end of today's show, I got some must-see Raiders rumors around some of our young studs. And I think when you see what is being said, you're going to be happy about some. But then you're also going to be like, you know what? I'm going to carry a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. To the 500 people here that are in the building, I know we have over 300 likes. As soon as this first segment is done, I'm going to give away some fantasy football raffle spots. So if you want to get in, I want to see some Raiders going down below because we're going to pick the people that are commenting the most on this next segment. You ready? My guy Cullen is ready to rock and roll. I hope that y'all are ready to rock and roll. Coming up here right now, let's get into what Pete Carroll had to say, and I'll react to it. Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, the Silver and Black training camp has officially started. The veterans are in the building. The rookies are in the building. The coaching staff is in the building, and I'm also going to be breaking down what Raiders head coach Pete Carroll had to say at his press conference today. Now, if you did not know, you're probably living underneath a rock, and you're probably not subscribed to the Raiders Report, but the veterans, they ended up showing a training camp today, and the very first padded practice will be tomorrow, July 23rd. If you were expecting the Raiders to practice today, that was not going to happen. Essentially, it was them just showing up, passing physicals. Hey, how you doing? But you know who I know is doing really well? Our head coach, Pete Carroll. And at 73 years old, he had a lot of things to say about this upcoming team. And he spoke to the media, spoke on the podium. I will say this, I don't know who the hell is running the Raiders audio and the video, but we're a $1 billion industry, right? I mean, $1 billion team. Can we get an upgrade on the video and the audio equipment? We could barely hear anything over here on the Raiders Report. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you guys a week 1 preseason deal. I believe now we are 16 days away from the Raiders' August 7th first preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. And I know this for a fact. Pete Carroll's going to want to win that game. Geno Smith is going to want to go out there and win that game. And if we get to 196,000 subs, I'm going to give away an Ashton Genty jersey. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on because not only will I be going live every single week, we're also going to be doing the Raiders preseason game, so make sure you're tuned in. So coming up next here, let's get into everything that Pete Carroll had to say at his presser. And when I say everything, I'm going to pick out the most important timelines and most important things in general. When asked about Christian Wilkins, Pete Carroll literally said that he doesn't know exactly when Wilkins is going to return. I know there's been a lot of speculation because there was a video that was released a few days ago about Wilkins. He's in the Raiders training room. He's dancing around in Crocs. I'll look at it like this. If Christian Wilkins is at the Raiders facility, that means the Raiders are always just saying, okay, you can do this, you can do that. That's what the medical team is going to be doing. The fact that he's dancing around in Crocs, I actually think is a really good sign. I know what I've been told, and I know that there is a lot of uncertainty around that. There absolutely is. But I think the fact is this. Christian Wilkins looks like he's in good spirits. He's been working out. We will see what ends up happening. But the moment he passes a physical, he can go out there and practice. The day that you got to keep in mind, though, if he is still on the PUP list come August 26th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, it's a Tuesday. I'll be live here on the Raiders Report. If he's still on the PUP list then he is out the first 4 weeks of the season. And then if he misses the next Week 5 game against the Colts, then he is out for the entire season. Let's go to the next thing that I thought Pete brought up that I wanted to mention here. Talking about Malcolm Koonce, and he said that he's a full go. When Malcolm tore his ACL last season, maybe it should have been, a little bit of a light bulb of, oh, shit, this is going to be a little bit of a rougher year than what we anticipated. But if our team is going to succeed the way that we're hoping to succeed, our secondary is a little bit weak. We'll talk about it here in a moment. Pete seems to be pretty fired up about him. But if our secondary is going to excel, we need guys like Christian Wilkins to be healthy. We need Malcolm Koonce to take that next step. Tyree Wilson to be able to take that next step. And a fully healthy Malcolm Koonce allows us to be able to go out and get after the quarterback. And if we can get the Malcolm that we had over those final 8-9 games with Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard in 2023, I do think that this defense is going to be very spectacular. I will say, if there's one question that I'm a little bit upset about that the Raiders media members didn't ask, and maybe they didn't know, I was kind of hoping that we would get some sort of a question around Charles Snowden, who has a court case today for a DUI case that he had back on December 10th, 2024. Let's go to the next thing that Pete said. He talked about sky-high expectations, and I love that he's bringing those sky-high expectations. I say all the time, there's not many coaches in the NFL that can sit down at a table with Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton and belong to be there. He said that he expects to win 10-plus games. He's done a lot of winning for 20 years. And if you didn't think that Pete, somebody that preaches every single day about competing, wasn't going to sit up there and tell you that he expects to win a ton of games, I don't think you know the 73-year-old Pete Carroll all that well. So you know what? If Pete's going to say, I got sky-high expectations, I freaking love that type of mentality, man. And It's probably the most excited I've been for a Raiders season in a really long time. So the pinned comment that we're going to have here on today's show is this. If you bleed silver and black, if you're watching the video right now, how many games do you expect the Raiders to win this season? You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, scroll on down and answer the pinned comment. Believe it or not, it helps me out. After this YouTube ad break, I'm going to give you my answer. You know what? Let's go sky high. Let's go 10 wins. And maybe that's not sky high for some people, but 10 wins to me is a high expectation for a team that was one of the worst teams in the NFL last season. The next thing that Pete really talked about is the importance of being a good teammate. And when you're a good teammate, it not only makes you personally better as a leader, but it also makes everybody else around you better. And when you're trying to build something from the ground up, and I think when the Raiders are trying to do is they're trying to take a little bit of that Tom Brady, John Spytek from the Michigan days, and I think what you're seeing from the Raiders is they're going, we got a 2 to 3 year window. What we have been able to develop as a college football program, I want to be able to develop here in the NFL, a 2 to 3 year window. And being a good teammate, it's important. If Max Crosby's showing up to the facility at 6 a.m., every other Raiders player should go, wow, one of the highest paid players in the NFL is doing that. I'm going to go out there and doing that. If you want the first guy there, last guy to leave to be your best player, we have so many players that have that mentality. Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Geno Smith, Max Crosby. We need that type of leadership, and being a good teammate is important when you're trying to establish what the Raiders are trying to establish. Carroll also said that he's in favor of playing young guys, and I think when you look at our cornerback room, Darian Porter, young guy. Eric Stokes, going to be a young guy. Even Jacorian Bennett, young player. You look at some of our players on at center, JPJ, which I know is probably not all that big of a surprise, but the Cameron Richardson is a young player. And the really important part of that, of what Pete had to say, is they're not just going to throw these guys to the fire. They are playing young players that they believe in, but also Pete's done this his entire career. And if you come from a tree of being able to have a process that you think works with young guys that resonates, then you get those young dudes out there on the field, and that's how great teams are made. Because when these young players who are on cheap contracts are able to be above and beyond what you're paying them, that then allows all these other guys to be able to take that step up, and you get better and better and better. That's how you build depth. That's how you build longevity. So he anticipates playing a lot of young players, and maybe he anticipates playing the Jack Beshes, the Dante Thorntons, the Trey Tuckers of the world. We're going to get to see a young team, and if they can build it the way they've built it before, I'm telling you, man, this Raiders team is going to be special. I got some more takeaways coming up here in just a moment, but guess what? See this Ashton Genty guy? He's one dude I am really excited to see at training camp. I remember Ron Raspberry just a few minutes ago was saying, I'm going. I can't wait to see Genty get out there and play. Well, here's the thing. If you need an Ashton Genty jersey and you want to save some money, go to chatsports.com/Genty. That link is going to be in the comments, and it's going to be in the description of today's video. If you've been sitting around going, I want to get a Genty jersey, but I'm going to wait. I don't know if you're going to get a better deal than this. And, yeah, it's only $26. But I'll say this. Save $26, get a Genty jersey, and then use that $26 that you save. You get 2 beers at a Raiders game. That sounds pretty good to me. Ashton Genty jerseys are on sale at the time that I'm making this video. And if you want to get this, you got to go down. chatsports.com/Genty. Let's keep it moving here on the Pete Carroll Presser takeaways. He's excited about Jermaine Pratt and Devin White. Kind of spoke about, what he expects from them from a leadership standpoint, from a linebacker room, and these were some of our newer additions. Now, I get it. Jermaine was added in June. Devin White was added back during free agency, but White is a player that's got a lot of ties to John Spytek. Jermaine Pratt also offers you some of that versatility in the coverage game, which, we really didn't have when we signed Devin and when we signed a Landon Roberts. But the fact that Pete mentioned both of those players by name, I think is going to be something really important to watch at training camp. Let's go to one of maybe the biggest statements that Pete said from his press conference, at least to me. He thought that this Raiders secondary was really athletic, and he also said that he felt it might be his most athletic secondary that he's ever coached. And then he kind of chuckled and said, oh, I bet those guys up north, meaning Seattle, are probably not going to like what I had to say about that. But if there is one thing we got to be able to sit back and realize is Pete's right. I mean, we have a lot of corners that when you talk about athletic ability, RAS score, just in the percentile of being an athlete, the Cameron Richardson is a phenomenal athlete. Darian Porter, phenomenal athlete. Jacorian Bennett, phenomenal athlete. Eric Stokes, really good athlete. We're talking about long, lanky, outside corners. And then, even from a safety perspective, I think Jeremy Chin brings some of that Cam Chancellor mentality. Isaiah Pola-Mao, yeah, he did struggle a little bit last season, was the 37th best safety out of 41 according to PFF. But I do think Isaiah Pola-Mao has some room to grow as an overall athlete. And if Pete Carroll is excited about the athletic upside that this secondary has, then you know what? It makes me even more excited to see what our secondary can bring. One of the other things that I love that Pete said is that he wants to be close to the fan base in the sense of he's going to have open practices. He said he's going to be more of like an open book. And what I thought about that was, a few years ago when Josh McDaniels and that whole regime was a part of the Raiders staff, they didn't let anybody know anything. Like, they didn't want to tell anyone anything. That's kind of like what the Patriot way was. But I think what Pete's really trying to show is, like, he wants to show Raider Nation that he's here to win. He's here to do a job, but he also knows how passionate of a fan base this is. And I think that our passion kind of matches what Pete's going to be able to bring to the table every single day. So the fact that Pete said today that he wants basically to build that relationship with this fan base, and he feels like that they're going to be able to do that through training camp practices, I absolutely love hearing that from our head coach. Another thing that he said was it's going to be a buy-in, and it's going to be really important for the players to buy into what they're selling because camp's going to be hard. And, maybe this is me being a jealous person, seeing these athletes make millions of dollars, and I'm going, I would love to be as athletic as a lot of these players to make millions of dollars. But if there's one thing that grinds my gears is I'm a hard worker. And I think for a lot of people that watch this show out there, you're probably sitting there going, you know what? I freaking work my you-know-what off. I go out there, I'm working 40, 50, 60, 70-plus hours every single weekend. I don't make the amount of money that these guys are doing, but you do it because you have to do it for your family, for yourself, whatever the reason is. One of my biggest pet peeves right now in the NFL is there's too many players that are me guys, that are sitting out because, I don't know, either a non-guaranteed contract, you want more money, and we've seen it in years past from certain players where they're just like, I don't feel like practicing. Devontae Adams, I get it. Devontae was dealing with something with his family, and I was happy that Devontae was able to take some time off last season. But at the same time, I want my best players at practice. I want my best players at training camp because if they're buying in, then the younger players are going to buy in. So the fact that camp's going to be difficult, good. It's your job. Like, I am sick and tired of seeing players get injured because when you don't practice and you expect to go out there and play at a high level, that's when injuries happen. Being in football shape is a lot different than being in good shape. And what I heard from Pete Carroll is, I don't care if you make $50 million a year. I don't care if you make the vet minimum. We're going to go out there. We're going to practice hard, and it's going to translate to the football field. That's a style of football that Philadelphia plays with. That's a style of football that the Detroit Lions play with. And that's a style of football that wins in January, fingers crossed for February. The final thing is this. We're going to win a bunch of games. And Pete said it, and he said it with the utmost confidence, that we're going to win a bunch of games. And he expects to win a bunch of games. And for somebody that has done the amount of winning that Pete has done, I don't blame him for doing that. When you look at how much success that Pete Carroll and Geno Smith had, I think that this Raiders team is more talented than some of those Seahawks teams. Yes, they had more talented receivers, but from an offensive line standpoint, I don't think it's all that close. I think from a front defensive line standpoint, the Raiders are better. From a skill position standpoint, if you want to include the tight ends, I could make an argument that Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Jack Bech, Dante Thornton Jr. might be better than what some of those Seahawks teams had, and they had a lot of talent on them. But Pete Carroll expects to win a bunch of games. So when you have a head coach that's going to stand in front of a bunch of 90 Raiders players, guys that, let's face it, have big egos, sometimes you need a 73-year-old man who's going to allow some of these guys to swallow their pride a little bit and say, I expect to win a lot because that's all I've done my entire life. I don't care what the Raiders have done the last 20 years. I don't care that over the past 23 years the Raiders have the second most losses behind only the Cleveland Browns. He expects to win a bunch of games, and that makes me as a Raider fan hopeful that we are going to win a bunch of games. Another thing that he mentioned here was something about Darian Porter, and he feels like Darian Porter is meeting all the expectations from a on-the-field standpoint, from a off-the-field standpoint, being a sponge. And, I've had a few Raiders players, I shouldn't say a few, I had one Raiders player tell me that Darian Porter is a sponge, and he's one of the smartest young players on this Raiders team, and just how he asks a lot of questions. And when you listen to Porter talk, you can hear that he is an intelligent player, and he's trying to soak it up. But when you're 6'2", 195, and you're a wide receiver and you move the way that Porter does, I think Pete Carroll is really excited about Porter. And I think right now around the NFL, this is going to be one of these sneaky, sneaky names that 2-3 years down the road, we sit there and we go, Darian Porter is one of the better cornerbacks in the National Football League. Before I wrap up today's show, I do want to give a special shout-out to yesterday's live MVP, Cove Utter. YouTube's got this brand new feature where it talks about XP points. I don't know exactly how they work. All I know is that if you want to get more XP, you can super chat and you comment on live show. So as it stands right now, the most XP points I've ever seen on a Raiders Report show, 10,075, and that goes to Cove Utter. Here were the top 10 XP getters on our yesterday's live show when the Raiders played the New York Giants in Madden. If you want to go check it out, please, please, please go check it out. But if you're like, Mitch, how do I get more XP? It's not me making stuff up. I don't know exactly how it works. This is literally what YouTube's going to tell you. Send live chat messages, send super chats, and super stickers. That's the way that you get more XP. I don't know the mathematical equation, and if you're looking for me to do mathematical equations here, you're definitely watching the wrong show. But anytime YouTube launches a new feature, and especially a feature that features the amazing people that watch this show every single day, we got over 550 people watching us live in the middle of July. The Raiders Report, I think, has the best community in all of YouTube, and I'll stand 10 toes on that. So if I have an opportunity to show some more love to the people that show love on this channel every single day, damn it, I'm going to frickin' do it because I got high expectations for the Raiders Report, just like Pete Carroll's got high expectations for the Las Vegas Raiders. What up, Tony Williams? You're next up here on the Raiders Report. Laughed my ass off. Remember you thinking Ben Johnson was coming. Yeah, I mean, I did think Ben Johnson was going to be the next head coach. And, you know, when you heard a lot of the reports, I'm sure that I wasn't the only one that thought Ben Johnson was going to be the Raiders head coach. But I'm not going to sit back, and I'll say this, and I've said it before. Would I rather have Ben Johnson as the Raiders head coach and everything that Chicago did this offseason? Or would I rather Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, keeping Patrick Graham? I'll take that trio over Ben Johnson. And I expect the Bears to do some good things this year. I expect Ben Johnson to be better. But I think personally, Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, John Spytek, our entire new regime that we've been able to create, even like a quarterback coach in Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen is one of the most respected quarterback coaches in the NFL. The Raiders had a plan, and they freaking knocked it out of the park. So you know what? I'm happy to keep laughing. I'm glad that you're laughing because I'm hoping that we laugh all the way to the bank, man. I'm hoping we laugh all the way to the Super Bowl. So if y'all want to get your questions, your comments on the show, if you could, use hashtag Raiders, or you can super chat to skip the line. That's typically how these live Raiders Report shows are going to go. Now, we do have 2 more segments that I'm going to be getting to on today's live program. It's going to be something from ESPN. They're breaking down some starting lineups. And then I got some must-see Raiders rumors. If you've been missing the Just Win babies, don't worry. We're going to be bringing back the Just Win babies. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. B-Ray, I'm seeing people saying Jamal Adams is visiting the Raiders today. I will say this. I will take a look at it. I mean, I'll tell you this. That would be something else. I'll tell you this. If that's true, that scares the hell out of me because I think Jamal Adams is not a very good football player. To me, we need secondary help, and if the Raiders are actually considering bringing in Jamal Adams, that would be worrisome to me. I'm not going to lie to you. Let me see. I'm seeing a few people say it, but I haven't seen it from a credible source. So until I see it from a credible source, then I'm not going to go with it. But, yeah, right now I would say the people that are saying it, I don't see anybody that's saying that it's a credible source. But I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. And I'll tell you this. If it does end up happening where he's there, you already know that I'm going to be talking about it on this channel. But I don't try to be an insider. I'm not an insider. I am simply a Raiders fan that when I have information, I share it with you guys. That's how this show goes. Like, I will never try to act like somebody that I'm not. And I don't know anything about Jamal Adams visiting the Raiders, and I'll wait to see what ends up happening. But I'll tell you what, it would be an interesting show. I'll tell you that. It would be an interesting show. Because when I used to, believe it or not, I used to work for the New York Jets. I know some of y'all know that. And that was right around when Jamal, like that whole video of him like not being able to get in.
Yeah, the key card, yeah.
That actually happened to me and a few of the other interns multiple times.
That's
Our key
hilarious.
cards would never work when we were trying to go to the Jets facility. What up, White Hat? Max showed up in his Mamba outfit. Max healthy and locked in. Yeah, I saw Max's wife posted something on her Instagram story, and it was Max's, like, you know, he's like flexing. He's on his Rolls Royce, which, man, it's a freaking sick car. And it's like year 7. And it's actually pretty wild to me that he's going into year 7. And because I look at Max Crosby's career, you know, very similar to like my career, where like that's kind of when I really started doing this whole thing. Max is the very first player that ever reached out to me. And, you know, I can remember when he broke his hand on HBO Hard Knocks, I sat up on that show and I'm like, yo, Max, if you ever want to pull up, let me know. He DM'd me. I've been really close to his family ever since. His brother lives, down here. His brother's actually friends with my wife, which is pretty crazy. And they look identical. The whole Crosby family looks like, you could tell. Like, Mama Crosby is a real one. They all look like Mama Crosby, and it's pretty crazy. But Max looks locked in, and Max is probably fired up, as he should be. Because I think for the first time, even for him, and players will never admit this, and I know players will never admit it, but you have to be able to sit back, look at your team, and Max Crosby looking at a team led by Gardner Minshew and Adam O'Connell last year at quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. That's probably a hard one to be like, yeah, we're going to win a lot of football games this season. I think the Raiders look at their roster with Ashton Genty at running back, a legit quarterback in Geno Smith, a really revamped defensive line, a better offensive line, a lot more skill position players at wide receiver. I think it's hard not to be excited, and I know Max is excited. Let's go to Ink. What up, Ink? Just bought Ashton Genty jerseys for me and my daughter. Raiders! Did you buy it through our link, or you're like, hey, I just got a jersey? Because if there is anybody out there that wants to get an Ashton Genty jersey, chatsports.com/Genty. If you want one, they are on sale right now. You can save like $26 by going to chatsports.com/Genty. But I think it's awesome. Like, I'll tell you this right now, whatever jersey, when I do have kids, whenever that is, we're going to get matching jerseys. I think it's really sick. Like, I think it's super cool when, you know, you see like a wife and a daughter, they're dressed the exact same, a husband or a dad, you know, and their kid dressed the exact same. Alex and I always like joke about it. We always talk about it, but I'm going to be one of those dads where it's like same shoes, same pants, same jersey, a little mini-me. Hell, I might even draw a beard on him. I don't even know. Let's go to Richard Black. I'm just kidding. Not going to draw a beard. Pumped up, Mitch. Checking on my Genty jersey from the draft raffle. I know I sent out a bunch of jerseys, Richard. I have a running list here on my show. And I would see what, Richard Black. I have your jersey size. I have your email. You are right now marked in yellow, which I have to see what that means from our team. I have your address. I have I have the size. I wasn't going to say what size you were. That maybe would be weird. But the order has been placed. The problem is we ordered so many jerseys that some of them didn't come with the right sizes. Like Cass Joey's, I know his didn't come with the right size, but his son's came in the right size. I promise you this, and I know a lot of people have been waiting on jerseys. It's you can blame me. I got married. I had my honeymoon. You will get them before the season starts. You have my word. You will get them before the season starts. Let's go to Gary Backus. Mitch, will we see cigars in the locker room this year? I don't really know. I think it's one of those things. Like, I know Crosby's big on cigars. He's got a partnership with 8 Lounge in Las Vegas. But, like, if guys want to smoke cigars after a win, like, I'm okay with it, right? Like, I don't think it's fair for me, somebody who's never afraid to have a good time. Like, if the Raiders win a football game and I want to chug 10 beers live on YouTube, I'm going to chug 10 beers on YouTube. Now, I don't do it every single day. Obviously, I save it for certain special occasions, and this year especially, I'm going to save it for Thursday Night Football, save it for after Raiders wins. That's probably going to be the only time that I do it all year. But there are certain times where, you know what, damn it, get out there and celebrate. And if your team wants to do it, shit, like, I'm not going to mind it. Like, but if Pete Carroll looks at all those players and is like, we're not doing cigars this year until we make the playoffs, then let's do it until the playoffs. Like, I don't mind guys celebrating. I think that there's a lot of hard work that goes into everything you do. And when you're passionate about what you do, if you want to celebrate in the best way that you know possible. But here's the thing. You better show up next week and you better win, because what I don't want to see is a team that goes out, celebrates, and then they're flat the next week. Because I'll tell you this, if I was Pete and I'd say week 1 we beat the Patriots, y'all want to smoke cigars? I'm cool with it. I have no problem. But you better be ready to go at practice showing up next week. You better be ready to go on game day next week. And yeah, it might not be a big deal smoking a cigar on a Sunday, but there's going to be people that look at that, and you don't want negative attention on the outside. Keep the main thing, and let's go win some football games. Let's look at the YouTube top fans from today's show, and I'll tell you this, there is a very, very close race between White Hat, who right now is our number 1. Coming in at number 2 is Cats Joey, and then number 3, Gary Backus. Cullen, could you also scroll down a little bit to show everybody what our top 10, top 20 fans look like right now? This is a brand new feature on YouTube. So you can get in our top 10, our top 20. I actually believe it holds all the way down to 50, right? Yep, I think we can go all the way down to 50. So this is a brand new feature that YouTube is launching, and today I'm going to give away some Raiders Report Fantasy Football raffle tickets for everybody that is in the top 20. Now, I got some better deals for the people in the top 3, for the people that are from 4 to 10, but if you're from 11 to 20, this is how many tickets that you're going to get. So right now, if the show were to end as we stand, White Hat, Cass Joey, Gary Backus, y'all get 50 tickets on our Raiders Report Fantasy Football raffle. If you're from 4 to 10, you get 25, which is Ron Raspberry, Bishop, Eric Mitchell, Malachi, King Snake, Rick Kelly, Richard Black. And then from 11 down to 20, I see Drew, I see Ink Survey, D-Boot, Tony Williams, Anthony Skepkin, Rebel Montana, 808, Raider Nation, Emmanuel Sanchez, Caleb. A lot of people down there. And if you're like, dude, how do I get ranked higher on the top fans here on the Raiders Report? There is 2 ways that I know. There could be more. Like, maybe if you hit the like button, maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. I actually do not know. Maybe if you hit the share button, maybe it helps. I don't know. But the ways that I do know that you can get more XP, this is what YouTube tells me. You can send live chat messages. So honestly, the more messages that you type below, the more XP that you're going to get. And if you send in super chats and super stickers, that is the other way to get more XP and continue to climb that leaderboard. So, you know what? Let's give away some XPs right now. If you want a shout out here on the Raiders Report, and if you want your XP to go up to try to get into that top 20, to try to get into the top 10, to try to get into the top 3, give me some Raiders down below. We're going to give some shout outs here. We went live a little bit earlier on today's program for Pete Carroll's press conference, because when our head coach is talking, I want to be able to sit up here and I want to hear what he has to say. And I know there's a lot of Raiders fans that want to be able to sit up here and watch it with me. I will say to the Raiders media team, can we get some better cameras? Can we get some better audio? Because for the love of God, that press conference was pretty brutal. Let's be real. It was pretty brutal. Let's give some shout-outs here. Let's see who wants some XP. I see JJ Wiggly. What up, Wiggly? K-Smooth21. Nova. Did you write it? I think you did. Blake Goodwin. What up, brother? Captain Steve Porch in the building. Rusty T. Matt Fluhey. What up, Fluhey? I see Steven Para. Zalesbo. Jack Eats Spicy Shit. Prove it, Jack. We see Ron Raspberry. K-Smooth again down there. Steve Para. Emmanuel Sanchez. Ed Robbins. A lot of OGs down below. And a lot of people that are boosting that XP score, which I'm not going to lie to you. I would love to be able to see the instant change. The only way that I know it changes instantly is via a super chat. Now, I believe we are all caught up on all the super chats, though I did have a few people asking about the duck race. So, Cullen, if you could show the photo for the $20 Venmo. If you don't already know, we are doing a duck race today. It's going to be at the very end of today's program. It's a $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. You can get out your camera. You can scan the QR code that is going to be up on screen here. There's going to be a little link that pops up. It's my Venmo. Send me $20 to be entered in for the duck race. The last time that I checked, we were at $90 in terms of giveaways, and I believe now we have a few extra people that are getting in. Rob Fravor, I see you. You're in. Richard Black, I see you. You're in. Anthony Green, Mr. Green, I see you. You're in. $20 Venmo right now. You would go home with $120 here on the Raiders Report. $120. So you guys know I like deals. Let's do a deal here. During the next segment, however long that segment goes, actually, you know what? Starting right now. F it. Let's just do it right now. Starting from now until that segment is done, if you send me a $40 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365, I'll give you 3 ducks. I'm not ducking around. You want 3 ducks, it's a $40 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. I also love the fact that people are still spamming Raiders down below. That's that Pete Carroll mentality. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep it rocking. Also, Ryan Decker, RIP to Ozzy. Yes, the great Ozzy Osbourne, unfortunately, did pass away, which, I'll always say, you're going to remember you die twice. You die when you die, and you die the last time somebody speaks your name. The reason why I say that is because, anytime there's a death, it's sad. Ozzy was 76 years old, but to me, Ozzy just joined Brandon Jasper, and he just joined the Great Tuna, and they're probably up there right now debating about top 5 guitarists, top 5 drummers, top 5 bands of all time, which brings me to my Tuna's top 5 of the day. My Tuna's top 5 of the day is related to a certain question, and I've been asked about a certain player a lot in terms of should the Raiders go out and should they try to trade for Trey Hendrickson. And during that Pete Carroll press conference, I saw Jordan Schultz say this. Multiple sources described that the last round of talks between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals as very contentious, and that it's been very difficult negotiation all season long. Hendrickson has publicly said he won't play this season without a new deal, and the team is aware. Talks hit a major impasse on Monday, and I'm told it's unknown when they'll resume. So, for those that do not know, Trey Hendrickson, he ended up going back home, and he's not at Bengals training camp practice. So, my question to you is this. Give me your take. Is Trey Hendrickson a top 5 defensive tackle in the NFL? Give me a yes. Give me a no. And then after this question, I will get into my Tuna's top 5 of the day. Well, actually, it's technically not my Tuna's top 5 of the day. It's our guy Cullen Brown's Tuna's top 5 of the day. And the Tuna's top 5 of the day topic is going to be NFL defensive ends. So what Cullen is going to do, because I always give my opinion on this show, so I figured it'd be a good opportunity for somebody else who's on this program to be able to break down his top 5 defensive ends. And I'll kind of weigh in and talk about it from time to time. But I see Ron says no. I see Dalroy says no. Emmanuel Sanchez says no, he's selfish. Numbers say yes from Julio Quintero. Great pass rusher, but not top 5 player from Ron Raspberry. I would say right now, majority of the votes are coming in for no on Trey Hendrickson. So, let's welcome in our guy, Cullen Brown, who's taking over for Jeremy Chuggs. Chuggs will be back on Thursday's show when we go live. Raiders against Chiefs. Winner wins the AFC West for our Madden season. So, Cullen, go through here. Talk to me about your top 5 defensive tackles in the NFL and tell me why they're ranked where they are. Nick Bosa at number 5 is a hell of a start. You might get some F. Cullens down below. I don't know.
Absolutely. No, listen, to answer the question, no, Trey Hendrickson is not a top 5 edge in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think he's a great pass rusher, but in terms of against the run, he's not as complete as some of the guys on this list. I also thought about, just for spoilers, honorable mentions, I thought about Aiden Hutchinson. I thought about Trey Hendrickson, Brian Burns, a lot of different guys, but these are my top 5. And yeah, I'm starting out with Nick Bosa, former Defensive Player of the Year, really talented player. Didn't have his most productive season last year for the San Francisco 49ers. Still, though, was 3rd in pass rush win rate at 20% and 5th in total pressures at 69. I do think with the Niners' investment in the defensive line this offseason with an Alfred Collins, with a Mykel Williams, it's going to help Nick Bosa produce at a higher level. He's still, to me, a top 5 guy or top 5 defensive end in the game, in my opinion.
Kitus is giving you a shout-out. Cullen, we love you on Bears Now.
Yes, shout out to Kitus, an absolute real one.
So for those of you that don't know, Cullen is the producer over on our Bears program, and since Jeremy wasn't here, Cullen decided to step up today and put in a little bit of time and effort. Let's go to number 4, Cullen.
Max Crosby.
Come on, get some 98s down below. Number 4, which I'm not going to disagree. I'll see what his other – I actually don't know Cullen's list, so this is the first time that I'm seeing it.
Yes.
So why is Max at 4?
I think Max Crosby is one of the better defensive ends in all of football. I mean, he did have an ankle injury last year, so he didn't have the most productive season. That being said, he is the start and often most times the finish when it comes to the Raiders pass rush. He is an absolute freak in terms of athleticism. 54 total pressures last year, 74.3 PFF grade, averages 94 pressures per season. It's unbelievable what this guy does on a daily basis. He's a truly complete player. I love his mentality. I love the aggression that he comes with. The fact that, he's willing to challenge guys like Patrick Mahomes. He's willing to get in guys' face. I think he's a guy that he could, on any given Sunday, be the best pass rusher in the NFL. But I think at number 4, it's a fair spot, just given his level of production over the last few seasons, that these next 3 guys, I think personally, just have proven more. But Max Crosby on any given day could be the best pass rusher in the NFL.
Yeah, when you look at tackles for loss, nobody's had more than Max Crosby, I think, over the past 3 seasons. Also, he's had one of the best, highest run defense grades according to PFF. Again, battled some injuries last season, but if this is a dude that's able to go out there and play 17 games, I expect Max Crosby to break the Raiders' single-season record for most sacks in a season, which is 16.5. Let's go to number 3 here on your top 5. And again, we are doing Tuna's top 5, and it's defensive ends. Number 3.
Micah Parsons.
Or as Jerry Jones would say, Michael Parsons.
Michael Parson, exactly. Listen, Jerry Jones might not appreciate him, but I do. I think Micah Parsons, one of the rare athletes at his position that, to be honest, if he didn't need to play end, he could potentially play off-ball linebacker if he needed to. But listen, since entering the league, he's one of the more productive pass rushers in the league. Yep. Pass rush grade of 91.6 or higher in each of his first 4 seasons. Listen, he had some injuries to start his NFL career, but has recorded at least 70 pressures for 4 consecutive seasons. His 20.2 pass rush win rate trailed only maybe somebody else later on this list who I'm not going to spoil just at this moment. But I think Micah Parsons is a guy who, listen, he's going to command a huge payday. I think he's going to be the future highest-paid non-quarterback in the NFL. Whether that's with Dallas or not, we'll wait and see. But for me, he comes in at number 3 on my list.
I think when you talk about contracts, I think the Max Crosby deal, when they ended up getting that one done, I think in 2 years when Crosby's making under $30 million a year, we're going to sit back and go, that's why it was so important for Max to get the deal before Micah, I'm going to guess 2 other names that are going to be on here. But it was really important for Max to get his deal done before Micah, and I'm going to guess these 2 guys play in the North.
That they do. And the first one is a guy that we're very familiar with in TJ Watt. Listen, TJ Watt just got paid. He deserved his money. I think he, again, is one of those guys that affects winning. You just asked our Steelers Talk host, Jack Sperry, all about that. He's a guy that does it all. You could argue that in terms of any other player on the NFL field that's not a quarterback, he may be the most valuable. And TJ Watt certainly is at this stage of his career, even in his 30s, where he's one of the best, if not the best pass rusher in the game. Again, just battled some just slight inconsistency over the years. He's been injured recently, so he's not quite as good at number 1, at least for me personally. But, again, any given Sunday, he could be the best non-quarterback in the NFL.
To me, the only thing that holds back TJ Watt is that availability.
Yes. And,
with me saying that, I think as Raider fans, we also got to be able to sit back and say the same thing about Max Crosby because he's had some of those injuries and a lot, he hasn't had the sack totals that some of these other players have. But TJ Watt is an absolute monster, and I'll be real with you. You're not going to get any disagreement from me who you have here at number 1.
Yeah, it's Myles Garrett. Listen, he's been the most consistent pass rusher over the last 4 seasons. I think he's had at least 14 or more sacks in 4 straight seasons. He's he's the youngest player in NFL history to reach 100 career sacks. Leads the league in pass rush grade, total pressures, pass rush win rate, and pressure rate. It's pretty hard to knock it.
On the Cleveland flipping Browns.
Yeah, on the Browns, right? And Myles Garrett is somebody like TJ Watt, like a lot of these guys on the list that, offensive coordinators have nightmares trying to scheme around these kind of players. Myles Garrett, his level of production in Cleveland, to me, it's hard to argue anybody else at number 1.
Yep, I fully agree. Now, Chugs isn't here, but Jeremy and I have a long debate
about
2 players that play similar positions, I would say. Who do you think is the better all-time player?
Okay.
J.J. Watt
Okay.
or Aaron Donald?
Interesting. I think you could argue J.J. Watt's peak may have been at the highest, but for longevity's sake, Aaron Donald's one of the greatest NFL careers, start to finish, that I've personally ever seen. Again, I dealt with him in the NFC West as a Seahawks fan. The fact that he was able to do it, again, both of them did it, from an interior perspective, but I think Aaron Donald's longevity kind of, helps win the argument, in my opinion. I mean, they're both comparable stats, both all-time greats, but the fact that, again, I reward Myles Garrett's availability on the field, I'd have to do the same for Aaron Donald over J.J. Watt. But again, J.J. Watt's peak is up there with anybody, but I'll take Aaron Donald.
You got the answer correct, Cullen. I was getting really, really nervous when you started off. Chugs is all on the J.J. Watt train, and I agree with you. Like, you could point hairs at both players. I think both guys are really, truly special. But I would take Aaron Donald over J.J. Watt. Yeah. Chugs obviously is a J.J. Watt fan, but Aaron Donald will be the pick that I go with here. All right, y'all. Coming up next here on the show, again, huge shout-out to Cullen for his top 5 defensive ends in the NFL. And if I could get real quick, some tunas down below, because I said it before and I'll say it again. You die 2 times. You die when you die, and then you die the last time somebody speaks your name. And I promise you, I will always do my best to remember Mount Raider Moore's very own Brandon Jasper. He loved a good top 5, and I think the amount of people that still mention his name is a beautiful thing, and I hope that if you're a part of the Jasper family, and if you ever see us mentioning him, I hope it brings a smile to your face, because his number one thing that he always tried to do on the show is always bring a smile to ours. All right, we got 400 people in the building. Next up here on the show, and reminder, $40 Venmo, you get 3 ducks in the race. $20 Venmo, you're going to get 1 duck in the race. Right now, as it stands, it's a $20 Venmo to go home with $140 as it stands right now. We will do this duck race at the very, very end of today's program. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to get into the next segment to Emmanuel Sanchez, Raider Sancho, Steven Stockgotten, Zalesbo, Captain Steve Porch. I appreciate all y'all spamming tuna down below, and I know there's a lot of other people that are doing it as well. I mean it. I really greatly appreciate y'all still showing love to one of the greatest legends that has ever lived on this show and that has ever lived in general. So you ready? Coming up here, we're going to get into a segment about ESPN releasing the starting lineups for the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'll also tell you where exactly they have them ranked. A little bit of disrespect, though, from Espen. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and ESPN released an article titled Ranking 2025 NFL Rosters Best Projected Starting Lineup. So essentially what ESPN did, they sat down with all their NFL insiders, and they ranked all 32 NFL teams. So what you're going to be seeing coming up here on today's show, where exactly the silver and black rank in the NFL. I also have a ranking of each NFL division from 1 all the way down to 8. And then I'm going to react to what ESPN thinks that this offense is going to look like and what the defense is going to look like. Because I'll tell you this, I don't think ESPN got either right. Some they did, some they didn't, but that's why you subscribe to the Raiders Report, for analysis, because I know more than anybody else that works at ESPN, and I'll stand 10 toes on that. I'll also stand 10 toes on Panda Subs helping me get into good shape for my honeymoon, get into good shape for my wedding. I'm not going to lie, put on some weight over the last week, eating a lot of food and having a lot of good drinks. But if you're still trying to stay in that beach body, you got to go to pandasubs.com. Use code Raiders. You're going to be able to save 20% off. And if you spend over $125, you're going to get free shipping domestically, and you're going to get free creatine, but you got to spend over $125. So we're going to quickly roll through. This is ESPN's roster rankings, and I do find it interesting that the Philadelphia Eagles were ranked number 2 after winning a Super Bowl. Baltimore all the way up there at number 1. Kansas City at 5. Denver at 6, I thought was honestly pretty intriguing in that. Josh Allen, the former NFL MVP, comes in at number 4. From 9 to 16, I think that they're a little bit too high on the Cincinnati Bengals, and I get it. A lot of offensive firepower, but the one that stuck out to me was San Francisco. I personally do not think that the 49ers are a top 15, top 16 team in the NFL. I think they've lost a lot of talent overall. The Los Angeles Chargers at 16, Jeremy Chugs' team at 13 with the Houston Texans. From 17 down to 24, There's our team, the Silver and Black, the Las Vegas Raiders, which I do find it interesting that they're ranked behind the New England Patriots. I guess we're going to be able to find that one out week 1. And if you don't know, I will be live for that week 1 game. Seattle at number 20. I think that the Raiders are a better football team. Maybe some people might disagree with me. From 25 all the way down to 32, I do agree that the Saints and the Browns are the 2 worst teams in the National Football League. But you know what? Don't sleep on the Tennessee Titans. I actually think low-key they did some good things building that defense in a weak division with Cam Ward at their quarterback. I think that that could be a sneaky team to not take a step like the Commanders did, but be a team that went from being one of the worst teams in the NFL to being a 8-9 win team. But you know what? I'll say this over and over and over again. If you're happy that ESPN and the NFL is sleeping on this Raiders team, I want you to hit that like button right now. And the reason why I like it is because when you have somebody like Pete Carroll, who's won his entire career, when you have somebody like John Spytek that's been able to win his entire career, Tom Brady won his entire career, Chip Kelly has won recently and has won a lot as a coordinator his entire career. When you tell a bunch of people that have done nothing but winning their entire career that I don't think you're very good, and Pete Carroll even said at his press conference, high expectations, that makes them carry a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and it makes them go out there and compete a little bit harder, hit that like button. It fires me up, and I guarantee it fires Pete Carroll up. So the other thing I wanted to be able to show is what ESPN's ranking average was based on division. Now, I personally believe that the AFC West is the best division in the NFL, and I think the NFC North is right up there with them. The numbers that you see is what the average is of all 4 of those teams, added up, divided by 4. So the AFC West has that average rank of 12.5. It does not surprise me at all that the NFC South is down there at the bottom, but according to ESPN, the NFC is stronger than the AFC, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with all of those rankings. So coming up here next on the show, let's get into the Raiders' offensive projection and reaction. So the way that I'm going to do this is ESPN essentially has it broken down by starters, by quarterback, running back, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and I'll tell you exactly who they have on that list, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Aiden O'Connell, I'm just kidding. Geno Smith is the starting quarterback. No surprises there at all. This is an easy one. The Raiders went out, they traded for him, and I think he's one of the most underappreciated, underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. At running back, it's Ashton Genty. No big surprises here. Wide receiver, Jacoby Myers. This is where I would say ESPN starts to mix it up here a little bit, where they're going to go with Jack Besh at wide receiver 2. And I don't totally disagree with the thought process on it because the Raiders drafted him in the 2nd round. You know, there's the unknowns of Dante Thornton Jr. There's the unknowns of Trey Tucker on top of that. So when you talk about the Raiders offense, I can understand maybe for somebody who doesn't follow the team all that close to say, all right, let's go with Jack Besh there, despite Dante Thornton Jr. and Trey Tucker working over Besh this entire offseason thus far. Coming in here at wide receiver 3, they have Trey Tucker. And I think when you talk about the outside receivers that the Raiders have, they're going to be able to mix and match. When they want to run the football, I think you're going to see more of Besh. When they want to throw the ball and really stretch it down the field, maybe you see more Trey Tucker. Maybe you see more of Dante Thornton Jr. At tight end number 1, Brock Bowers, the best tight end in the league. It's not close to me. I think there's nobody that does what Brock Bowers does, and he's the number 1 receiver on this team. He is truly, truly special, and I know that he's labeled as a tight end, but I think Brock Bowers and Puka Nacua are so closely related in players where maybe Puka's a little bit more talented as a receiver, but Brock's a better blocker. I think that's how I kind of look at a player like Bowers. Coming here at tight end number 2, it's Michael Mayer. That is the Raiders' skill position, and then they go to the offensive line, and I'm just going to warn you right now, the offensive line that ESPN put together is going to surprise you. Just going to tell you that. Coming in here at left tackle, they got Colton Miller. He's looking for a brand new deal, and I expect him to hopefully be a Raider for life, though we'll see what ends up happening this offseason. Left guard's a head scratcher. They have Alex Kappa as the Raiders starting left guard. I want to be very clear. Alex Kappa did not take a single rep at left guard last season. Alex Kappa has been a right guard. He's been a right guard with John Spytek. He worked at only right guard this entire offseason. So I don't know if ESPN knows something that I don't know, or if they just truly don't know the Las Vegas Raiders all that well. But Alex Kappa at left guard was a little bit of a head scratcher to me. At center, JPJ. I think JPJ is going to take that step as being one of the better centers in the NFL, and I think he's going to get some of that recognition that he deserves. Coming in here at right guard, Dylan Parham. I believe Dylan Parham is probably a little bit more slotted than at left guard. I get Parham played right guard. If I had to guess, and this is why I'll tell people, why you subscribe to the Raiders Report, it's because I think literally what ESPN did was they go, oh, well, Dylan Parham played right guard last year for the Raiders, so therefore Alex Kappa's going to play left guard. You subscribe to this show because I guarantee it, we know more than ESPN. I stand 10 toes on that. And then at right tackle, DJ Glaze. I'll also say this. I'm not going to say 10 toes anymore. I feel like I've said it 100 times already on this live show. DJ Glaze at right tackle is going to come in here, and he's going to be the starter. So here's my question for everybody that's watching the show right now. David Zahn, I salute you for watching this live. Let's go back to school here. I want you to grade ESPN's Las Vegas Raiders offensive projection, and I want you to grade it based on correctness, because I'm not saying based on talent, based on what ESPN projected. If they were to turn that into you and you were to grade it, do you think it's an A? Is that's exactly what the Raiders starting offense is going to be. B is there was a few, maybe one or two misses. C, not very good. It was an average. D, bad. F, it's a big old fat fail. My answer is going to be coming up here after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to give it a C grade because I'm going to say they got 9, maybe 10 correct out of 12. But putting Alex Kappa at left guard, I think just kind of shows that, they don't know this roster all too well. I think if they would have had Kappa at right guard, maybe Dylan Parr, maybe even Jordan Meredith over there at left guard, it would have been a little bit better. But putting Jack Besh at wide receiver 2 is where I have the maybe, because I did originally think that Besh was going to be the number 2 receiver when the Raiders drafted him out of TCU at number 58 overall. But because it's been the Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton story working with the number 1s this entire offseason, I'm going to give ESPN a C grade based on their offensive projections. Coming up next here, let's look at the defensive side of the football. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Las Vegas Raiders have cooked up here on the defensive side of the football. And before I get into it, today's show is presented by Panda Supps. If you don't already know, you can get started with Panda Supps workout supplements. Go to pandasupps.com, use code Raiders, and you're going to be able to save 20% off. If you spend over $125, you're going to get free creatine and you're going to get free shipping, which is going to be available to all y'all. Now, they got this brand new premium whey protein isolate, and it comes in some amazing, truly amazing flavors. I'm talking about peanut butter cookies, chocolate brownie whip, and toasted honey graham. I mean, this feels like a cheat day. It truly feels like something that you can't even believe how good this protein is from top to bottom. And I'm telling you, from somebody that has had it multiple times, the Panda Supps protein is a total game changer for somebody that's got a big sweet tooth like me, for somebody that's not afraid to have a cheat day every single day. I love Panda. I love what they're able to bring to the table, and I think that there are a lot of people out there that also love what Panda Supps bring to the table. So again, that link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasupps.com. Let's keep it moving here on the defensive side of the football. And at defensive tackle, they got Christian Wilkins. And to me, I look at this as they're projecting him to be healthy simply because of the projection to be healthy. Adam Butler at defensive tackle is going to be another one in there. And for those of you that are watching this show live, there was some breaking news that just happened that the Raiders just signed Jamal Adams. So we will be breaking that down here in just a moment. Edge, Max Crosby, which I think you got to be able to put edge into that consideration. Malcolm Kuntz coming in here at edge. The other edge position is going to be Tyree Wilson. From an overall defensive line standpoint, this is the defensive line that I do think makes the most sense for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, you got to go ahead and you got to look at the cornerback position, where they have at cornerback number 1, they have Eric Stokes. And I think Eric Stokes might surprise some people to be the cornerback number 1. Coming in here at number 2, Jacorian Bennett, which Bennett hasn't been working with the ones predominantly. He's been working with some of the backups, still trying to get healthy, but he was the best corner on this roster. And then at cornerback number 3, DeCamerion Richardson. So ESPN doesn't project Darian Porter to be a top 3 corner on this roster, which I'm telling you right now, I'm going to rip them for it because that's bad. At number 1 here for linebacker, they're going to go Jermaine Pratt, who was recently signed in the month of June. Linebacker number 2 is going to be a Landon Roberts, and this is what I anticipate the top 2 linebackers to look at. At strong safety, you got Jeremy Chin, and then at free safety, you got Isaiah Pola-Mao. So just like I asked earlier in the show about rating, where the Raiders exactly stand for the offensive side of the football, I'm going to ask you to rate them as well on the defensive side of the football. Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being they weren't even close, to 10 being this is a no doubt they got every single position right. My answer coming up here in just a moment. I'll sit up here and give it a 7 out of 10. I do think that ESPN got 10, maybe 11 right, but not putting Darian Porter in the top 3 corners I don't think is a very good look for them, because it's not a disrespect thing to Cameron Richardson, but I think if you follow what the Raiders have said and done this entire offseason, Darian Porter is going to be one of those potential starters, and not even have him in the top 3 was a little bit of a head-scratcher to me overall. So because of that and that alone, that is why Darian Porter being placed there, I have as a 7 out of 10. Now, if you do not know already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you got those notifications turned on, because if breaking news ends up going down on the Raiders Report, I'm always going to do my best here to keep you up to date. All right, y'all, there has been some breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders, they have gone out and they have signed safety Jamal Adams. So what we're going to be doing here on today's show, we're going to have to get somebody to get us a highlight cut, and then we're going to be breaking it all down. So the Raiders had a visit today. So whoever was saying earlier that the Raiders had a visit with Jamal Adams, that is another, I think, move that is showing you that the Raiders are looking to reunite players that have once been a part of the Pete Carroll regime. I'll tell you this, I don't think Jamal Adams is a good human being. I don't think Jamal Adams is a good football player. And I think that this is one of those moves very similar to the Devin White move of they're going to have to prove me wrong. And I'm not going to sit up here and try to sugarcoat stuff. I'm not going to sit up here and try to act like Jamal Adams has been a good teammate, because I'll tell you this right now, I've had tweets out there before. I know multiple people that have said Jamal Adams is a horrible human being. And if you don't know some of the things that Jamal Adams has done over the past few seasons, well, I encourage you to look it up. But I would say Jamal, if you want my honest opinion of how a Raider fan's going to think about him, imagine Jonathan Abram, like somebody who is a disaster in coverage. But maybe he can step up, and maybe he can be a special teams player. Maybe he can be somebody that I don't even know if he's going to end up making the roster overall. But this is a done deal. The Las Vegas Raiders, they have signed safety Jamal Adams. So please give me your one-word reaction to Las Vegas going out and signing safety Jamal Adams. I'll tell you this, I do not – it's depth. That's kind of how I would look at it, depth and depth alone. But to me, he doesn't really fill the need of what the Raiders have. And the Raiders have a need of, we need guys that can cover in this secondary. Jamal Adams has been one of the worst coverage safeties in the NFL, and he hasn't been reliable in a long time. A 35.5 PFF grade last season for coverage. A 50.7 PFF grade for coverage in 2023. Now, in 2022, this is showing up as an 81.0, which I do find to be pretty shocking. And then the year before that, a 47.4 overall grade. We will see what ends up happening here if he ends up making the roster, but I would sit up here and tell you the exact same thing that I said about Devin White. Maybe Devin White, John Spytek can get it going. Maybe Jamal Adams shows that he can get his head on straight, but Jamal Adams has had a lot of off-the-field issues, and I know he's had a lot of off-the-field issues recently. He's had a lot of issues off the field. I'm looking at some of them right now, and it's not good. He's had some issues with some fans. He's had a lot of bad relationship with the New York Jets. He's called out multiple doctors before. He's had some bad injuries, but the reason why I am not as high on Jamal Adams as being a character guy, I'm trying to remember the story exactly, but essentially I remember Jamal Adams essentially like saying horrible things about a reporter's wife. And I don't remember the exact story off the top of my head, but That's why I can remember me just being like, I don't like Jamal Adams. And I'll say it again, like, I don't think Jamal Adams is a good human being. I think he is a diva. I think it's probably one of the moves that is a little bit of a head scratcher to me because I don't think that he's going to bring a lot of the things that we've been hoping for. Now, this could be proven that I'm wrong, and like Adams has been looking for a new home. Adams has been looking for a spot where, he can get out there and he can play a little bit, but maybe he needed to be humbled to get another opportunity. Maybe he goes out there and he proves it with Pete Carroll. I am a little bit surprised that this is the move that the Raiders are going to make, and they did have a roster spot to fill. Reminder, when the Raiders decided to move on from Carter Bradley, they had that open spot. The Raiders are allowed to have 91 players on their roster because they have the International Pathway Program player, Laki Tassi, or I should say a International Pathway Program player. But overall, Jamal Adams being a Raider, I'll be honest with you, I don't like it. I don't think it's a good move by this organization, but at the same time, I do believe in what Pete Carroll and John Spytek are doing, and I just got to hope that they prove me wrong. Like, to me, this is a Jamal Adams move of he knows the coaching staff. He's probably somebody that Pete Carroll believes in, but I do think if we're trying to create a compete mentality and bring good players, good human beings into the locker room, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think that Jamal Adams is a very good human being. Hang on, let me see. I'll try to see if I can find the exact. Yeah, here's what happened. So Jamal Adams was making fun of a reporter's wife. He was calling her ugly, basically. The reporter's name was Connor Hughes, and he captioned it and said, "Yikes." Jamal Adams later then decided to delete that tweet. But, I mean, here's the one thing, and I'll say this. And as a man, you can come at me, and I mean that. You can insult me. You can do whatever you want to do towards me. I don't mind it. As soon as you start, think about the type of man you have to be to call another man's wife and say yikes and put it on social media and essentially call her ugly. Like, I think that there's a certain type of human being that does that. And I'm sorry, like, I'm not a fan of Jamal Adams. If he's a good player for the Raiders, awesome, right? Like, I hope that he proves me wrong because I don't think he's a good player on the field, and I don't think he's a good human being off the field. So this one is a little bit of a head-scratcher to me. But I'll be transparent. Like, it's not a good move to me. But we'll see. I mean, that said, is that it? There are other things that Jamal Adams has done. Any contract info? No. If I guess, though, it's going to be for the vet min. It's probably going to be a one-year deal at $1.2 million. I'll be honest. I don't like the Raiders adding Jamal Adams. I'll put that out there. I really don't, man. We'll see if we can keep him in check, if we can keep his head on straight. But at the same time, I just don't think it really fits what the Raiders have done this offseason. The only thing that I would say that it fits with is the connection of he's got a connection to Pete Carroll. He's somebody that, obviously Carroll's regime traded for from the New York Jets. They gave up 2 first-round picks for him. He hasn't been good in the NFL for multiple years, and I just don't think he's a very good human being. So, I don't know. We'll see, though. We'll see. I hope that I am proven wrong. I hope I am proven wrong. Wow. All right, actually, the Raiders are adding a few players right now, which this is actually very interesting. So the Raiders not only just added Jamal Adams, they also added J.T. Woods, who is another safety formerly of the Seattle Seahawks. He did not play last season. He's a long, lanky guy, 6'2", 193 pounds. Had an overall PFF grade in 2023 of 54.8. In 2022, had an overall PFF grade of 53.6. So the Raiders not only added Jamal Adams, they also are signing cornerback J.T. Woods. What's going to be interesting about this also, Woods recently played on the Seahawks and the Bears. to my knowledge, this means that the Raiders are going to have to cut somebody. To my knowledge, because they had Carter Bradley. They moved on from him. That put their roster at 90. And now they just went out. They added Jamal Adams. And we'll see. The Raiders, the Raiders also signed cornerback JT Woods. I would imagine now the Raiders are going to have to cut somebody. You know, it's kind of wild when you see some of the moves that these teams make. But, you know, for JT Woods, I'm trying to see exactly some of the ins and outs on him because, again, this is somebody that he's played a little bit of safety. He's played a little bit of cornerback, 6'2", 193 pounds. He's from San Antonio, Texas. He's 25 years old. He went to college at Baylor from 2018 to 2021. He was a third-round pick, 79th overall in the 2022 NFL Draft. He was drafted by the Los Angeles Chargers. He was with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was with the Chicago Bears, and he was most recently on the Seahawks practice squad. So that's interesting. So the Raiders, they go out. They have signed not only Jamal Adams, but they have also signed cornerback JT Woods. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, we will be breaking down the two additions. You think also, Cullen, could we get like a different thumbnail and a different title for live? No, have somebody. I got it. Yeah. I mean, we got some interesting breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders have gone out. They have signed two players, Jamal Adams and cornerback JT Woods. If you're wondering about JT Woods, he does not have a lot of playing experience. I'm looking at his stats right now. In his entire career, he's played in 13 games. He has started one game. He started one game back in 2022 for the Chargers, but he's got 8 tackles for his entire career, and that is his only production. So we go out, we get JT Woods, and we go out and we get Jamal Adams, which I find kind of interesting because Pete Carroll literally, 30 minutes, an hour ago, just talked about how confident he was in his secondary. But this means that the Raiders are going to have to cut somebody now. The Raiders will now have to cut a player after signing Jamal Adams and JT Woods. If my math is mathing correctly, this means that Las Vegas is going to have to move on from a player unless I am forgetting another guy that the Raiders have recently cut. I mean, I know that they cut Carter Bradley. Outside of that, off the top of my head, and I know I was away during my honeymoon, but I believe they're going to have to move on from somebody. Raider Nation 94 said Pete is a DB guru. I hear you. I'm hoping to trust the process, and I think that's part of it that we have to do here. If Pete Carroll thinks that these guys are going to be able to help right before training camp, then we'll see what they end up doing. Leon Brown says it's because Wilkins is on the PUP. No, Wilkins still counts against the 90-man roster. So, if it's like in the regular season, if you get placed on the PUP list during the regular season, then you're not counted as on the 90-man. But at this time in the off-season, Christian Wilkins is still counted towards the 90-man. So that I do want to make very, very clear. So to me, the Raiders will have to move on from a player. I don't know who it's going to be. If I had to guess, we will probably get that information soon. The way that the Raiders typically do it is when they'll announce, hey, we have signed Jamal Adams. Hey, we have signed JT Woods. And a corresponding move, we've also had to move on from XYZ player. I don't know who that player is going to be. But coming up here on the show, I want to get into a cut, and we're going to be breaking down the Raiders' move. Do you think that you could also update the depth chart for me? Again, I don't want to rush you. I know we're doing a lot behind the scenes. Shout out to Cullen. Again, he's working really hard behind here to make sure everything is working for us. But if you just want to add JT Woods to the cornerback depth chart, And if you want to add Jamal Adams to somewhere on that strong safety list for the depth chart, I think that would be great. In terms of players that the Raiders might have to cut, if you go into the Raiders graphic sheet and if you go to listicles and if you control F Carter Bradley, you're probably going to be able to see where I rank all these players. I'll go into the sheet right here. If you want to just show like players from 91 and like these two sheets here, I think that these guys could be potential cut candidates. Maybe just change the title and get rid of the numbers and get rid of like Carter Bradley in there. But actually, you know what? Just stick to, we'll do this. Cool. All right, y'all, bear with us for here a little bit. Again, breaking news just happened, and we're trying to move around some of the parts here on our show. Captain Steve Porch now. That's a terminology that we use here on the show. There's just certain graphics that you see, just so Cullen knows what to do. Ventrak, in a corresponding move, the Las Vegas Raiders, no chance, dude. no chance. I would say Brock Bowers is the best player on this Las Vegas Raiders team. If you're comparing it to his position and his overall value to where he also ranks in the NFL, I know Max Crosby probably has the higher overall Madden rating, and people might say he's the better player, but Max isn't the best defensive end in the NFL, where Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the NFL, but both players are obviously phenomenal. Robert Jansen. We already moved on from Carter Bradley. And, yeah, I know, Ben Thrack. It's all love, man. It's all love. So we did decide to go live a little bit earlier today, and I'm kind of happy that we did. We went live a little bit earlier for the Pete Carroll signing, and now we're going to be breaking it all down with Jamal Adams and JT Woods, the two players that the Raiders just brought in. Daniel Maxwell said Jamal is a dog when he's healthy. I just don't think he is I just don't think he's been a very good player for a long time. I don't think he's been a good player for a long time. Makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, what is y'all's grade the signings of Jamal Adams and JT Woods? A, B, C, D, or F? Give it to me down below. Because to me, I would say these two moves here are probably a D grade. Hopefully, they can be a C grade. If Jamal shows up and he's healthy, he's motivated, he's ready to go, maybe he can go back to be looking like a solid safety like he was back in his days early with the Seahawks, back with the New York Jets. But he hasn't been that guy for multiple seasons. And then for JT Woods, he's more of just a practice squad player. But Woods does kind of fit that bill of what they're looking for in a corner. 6'2", 193 pounds. Let me see what he did at the NFL Combine. Because, I mean, if he's a really – I mean, he ran a 4.3. Yeah, very high athleticism score. 4.36, 40-yard dash, vertical jump of 39.5. I mean, he's in the 83 kind of like percentile if you're just looking at where certain players ended up ranking. So, I mean, good athlete. We know Pete Carroll really loves his athletes, especially in the secondary and in the nickel there. But I see Aziz going to go with a C. Raider Dad says F-. Moonlight Reaper seems to be a little bit more optimistic, which I like. I love optimism. I don't know if I agree with it. The real crazy news is going to go with an A. Jamal Adams is going to be a special teamer. Maybe. But I don't know if that's what Jamal Adams wants to do. You know what I mean? Like, is he going to be the type of player that is okay with the idea of, you know, just doing that? Also, I'm looking right now at the Dolphins. They just made some moves. They just put Darren Waller also on the PUP list. Interesting. So if you could get rid of the numbers. Get rid of the numbers and then put potential cut candidates. Because when I ranked the Raiders roster, these were the players that I put on the very bottom. So because the Raiders signed Jamal Adams and they went out and they signed JT Woods, if my math is mathing correctly, the Raiders are going to have to cut a player. They're going to have to move on from somebody. I don't know who exactly that's going to be, but I have at least an idea of some of the players that I would potentially move on from. Now, last week while I was gone and I was on my honeymoon, I did a video of the top. I ranked the Raiders players from 91 all the way down to 1. Carter Bradley was ranked number 91 on that list, and essentially I said, if the Raiders have to move on from a player, the guy that I would move on from is Carter Bradley because he was the least important player on our roster. You traded for Geno Smith, you have Aiden O'Connell, who's a great backup quarterback, and then you drafted Cam Miller. Those are the reasons why Bradley was ranked where he was on my list. Now, for these other guys as potential cut candidates, they're more of just, we have other players at certain positions, and we will see what ends up happening. We will see what ends up happening here. So, thank you, everybody, for bearing with me. Shout out to Cullen. He's been working hard behind the scenes here. Coming up, I'm going to be breaking down the 2 signings that the Las Vegas Raiders, they just had. They signed Jamal Adams. They went out, they signed JT Woods. Do we have a sponsor on it? It's going to be let's just do the Genty jersey. Just tell him. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to end up doing. So, Woods is a camp body from Lewis Dixon. We'll see, man. If you haven't already, please make sure y'all hit that like button. The way that I look at likes is the same way that I would look at the Oakland Coliseum. We have over 530 people right now watching, 450 likes. Imagine if not everybody was standing up in the black hole. It's third down. It's freaking third down and goal, and we got to get a flipping stop. Get up on those feet, man. J.J. Wiggly, Darren Waller. Really? Yep, Darren Waller just got placed on the PUP list. Yep. You ready? Coming up right now, let's get into the breaking news around the Las Vegas Raiders. We got some breaking news here on the Raiders Report. The Las Vegas Raiders have gone out and they have signed 2 players. So coming up here on today's show, I'm going to be breaking down my thoughts around the Raiders signing safety Jamal Adams and going out and signing cornerback, defensive back JT Woods. And if my math is mathing correctly, this means that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to have to cut 1 player. I'll also break down near the end of the show who those players could potentially be. Now, I've been live on the show for over 2.5 hours now. We went live a little bit earlier for the Pete Carroll press conference, but when breaking news happens, we got you covered here on this show. Anybody can sit up on a channel. Anybody can tweet out breaking news, but how many people can actually talk about it? I'll always tell you this. Subscribe to the show. If you don't become a smarter Raiders fan after the first week, unsubscribe. You got absolutely nothing to lose. But if you're that type of person that as soon as Raiders news happens and you want to hear about it, you want to discuss it, the Raiders Report is where you can do that. So the breaking news is coming in. The first on it was NFL insider Jordan Schultz, and he said, breaking news, 3-time Pro Bowl safety Jamal Adams is signing with the Raiders per multiple sources. He's going to be reunited with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas. I am told Adams is in excellent shape and is the healthiest he's been in years. Anytime I hear the healthiest he's been in years, I instantly think of best shape of season, and that's what anybody's going to say. To me, this is somebody, probably Jamal Adams' agent, that reached out to Jordan Schultz, that got this out there, and of course he's going to talk about how healthy his client is. But that's been one of the big issues for Jamal over the past few seasons. In 2024, played in only 5 games. Also, did not prove that he could be a very reliable player, and one of my biggest gripes with the Raiders going out and adding Jamal Adams is this is a team that we need more help in the secondary for guys that can cover. Jamal Adams, a 35.5 PFF coverage grade last season in 5 games. In 9 games the year before that, a 50.7 overall PFF coverage grade. In 2022, he had a good year, but that's only 1 game. That's a small sample size. In 2021, in a 12-game sample size, a 47.4 overall coverage grade. I'll be transparent. To me, the reason why that this deal ended up getting done, and I feel like I say it every single episode when I talk about the Raiders either being linked to a player in free agency or a signing that they have, it's connection. It's relationships. And they clearly matter to this regime. They clearly matter to Pete Carroll. I mean, Jamal Adams spent multiple seasons with Seattle, with Pete Carroll. I mean, I don't know if y'all remember, but he was originally drafted by the New York Jets in 2017. He spent 3 seasons there, and then Seattle ended up giving 2 first-round picks, and Adams played with Pete Carroll from 2020 to 2023, and then as soon as Carroll ended up not getting that job in Seattle, then he ended up going to the Tennessee Titans last season. But we got to be honest with ourselves here. We can't look at Jamal Adams as the player that he once was back in probably 2018, 2019, hell, 2020, 2021, where he's racking up over 80 tackles every year. I mean, in the last 4 seasons combined, he's got 58 total tackles. He's not been able to stay healthy. He's not been able to stay on the field. And I'll also say this. The reason why I'm a little bit of a head-scratcher here for Jamal is because I feel like this Raiders team has done a good job being able to bring in players that help the locker room, are good teammates, are good human beings. And I'm sorry, I don't think Jamal Adams is a good human being. And I'll sit up here and I'll say that. I'll take gripe for it. This might be a signing the same way that I look at like the Devin White signing. Devin White's a John Spytek guy. Do I hope Jamal Adams, Pete Carroll, and this regime prove me wrong? Of course that I do. Do I know that this adds depth to our secondary? Do I know that this is going to add extra competition to the safety room? Yeah, it is going to add a lot more competition. This is bad news for Chris Smith. This is bad news for Trey Taylor. This is bad news for Hudson Clark. I think it's also going to be really interesting competition for somebody like Lonnie Johnson Jr. And I know the statement that I am making about calling Jamal Adams a bad human being is probably going to be a shocker to some of y'all. But let me be very clear of why I am saying it. There was a few years ago, Jamal Adams called a reporter's wife. He didn't call her exactly ugly, but he quote tweeted a reporter's wife, said yikes, and then later deleted the tweet because he was getting crap from it. Let me be very clear. Jamal, if you want to come after me, you're more than welcome to come after me. But when you go after somebody else's significant other, especially their wife, family's off limits. It takes a certain human being to go after somebody's wife. So if you get offended by me calling you a bad human being, then I need you to look in the mirror and prove me wrong. Go out there and wear the Raiders jersey with pride. Go out there and practice your freaking you-know-what off. If you go out there and you can compete, I will take back everything that I said. But at the end of the day, I call a spade a spade. And when you act like a jerk and you say certain things about media members' wives, I'm going to sit up here and call you a terrible human being. Now, some people might go, well, Mitch, we're not going to worry about the off-the-field stuff. And I get it. And I don't want to worry about the off-the-field stuff. But to me, it's something that needs to be brought up because we're bringing in a player that's had a lot of off-the-field issues, getting into trouble, and we're bringing him into a locker room right before training camp when I think the focus needs to be on football, and the focus needs to be a positive thing. So I want to do a pinned comment here on today's show, and I want to know from the nation, what is a one-word reaction to the Las Vegas Raiders going out and signing Jamal Adams? And we'll break down the JT Woods move here in a little bit. But let's be very transparent, okay? The bigger move, the one that's going to get a lot of attention from the NFL, the one that's probably going to be the reason why people sit up here and click on this video, it's because of the Jamal Adams signing. And I get it. He's got overlap with Pete Carroll. I get it. He's got that relationship with Pete. And I want to sit up here and I want to tell you how much I believe in Pete Carroll. But then again, about an hour, 90 minutes ago, Carroll sat up here and talked about how confident he was in his young cornerbacks, and then goes out and signs an old Jamal Adams. So this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. After this YouTube ad break, I want you to scroll on down, give me your answer. My answer is going to be coming up here in just a second. My one-word reaction to the Raiders signing Jamal Adams, risky. And I think it's a risky move. And I say it's risky because I'm worried you're going to bring in a bad locker room guy. I think it's also risky because if you would have told me we're going to sign a safety, let's sign a safety that helps us in the coverage game. Somebody that helps, I think, fix the need that we have. We have a lot of talented players in this secondary, and I think we have a lot of upside in this secondary. But we need guys that can help us cover. Isaiah Paul-Miles, not the best coverage safety. Jeremy Chinn's not the best coverage safety. Lonnie Johnson Jr., not the best coverage safety. Jamal Adams has been statistically one of the worst coverage safeties in the NFL. Devin White, not a good coverage linebacker. Landon Roberts, not the best coverage linebacker. I'm just really concerned about the back end of our secondary, and I know we had an open roster spot, but Jamal Adams is a little bit of a confusing move to me, and I'll be real with you. I don't like this move by the Las Vegas Raiders. But you know what? That wasn't the only move that the Raiders went out and did today. They also went out and they assigned cornerback. Some people might label him as a safety. He's been listed as a safety. He's been listed as a corner. The fact that the Raiders are going to list him here as a corner and Rappaport's going to do it, that's how I am going to address him. Cornerback JT Woods. Now, you see him down there on the very bottom of this depth chart. I will say that I think Jamal Adams has a better shot to make this roster than JT Woods. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that. I don't exactly know. I will say that this signing means to me that you're going to see a player like Thomas Harper, I think, work a little bit more in the nickel, and he worked over Darnay Holmes in the nickel already this offseason, and you've seen Patrick Graham units kind of use a lot of these safety different looks here and there. But to me, JT Woods, I'll be breaking down what Raider fans can expect about him, but I think you're looking at a player that's got just a little bit of depth. We have some stats. He is a good athlete. Before I break down, though, who JT Woods is, if you're looking for a brand new Raiders Ashton Jeanty jersey, we got them on sale right now. You can save $26 by going to chatsports.com/Jeanty. This Jeanty jersey, if you're planning on getting one, if you go to that link, it's going to be down in the comments and in the description of today's show, chatsports.com/Jeanty, if you're trying to get your hands on a Ashton Jeanty Raiders jersey. So let's look at JT Woods. He played college football at Baylor, and he played there from 2018 to 2021. Look at the length, 6'2", 193 pounds. He ran a 4.36 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. That also comes with a 39.5 vertical jump, a 10-foot, 8-inch broad jump. I mean, we're talking about a player that in the year he was drafted in 2022, mind you, he was a third-round pick, number 72 overall. He went to the Los Angeles Chargers. NFL.com has him ranked as an athleticism score as 83, which, if you don't know NFL.com and how that works, that means that he is a great athlete. And we know how much Pete Carroll values length. We know how much Pete Carroll values speed. I would say the way that you're going to see JT Woods make an impact is going to be on special teams, because the Raiders have said, Tom McMahon, the Raiders special teams coach, has said that they really do want to add more speed, length, especially on special teams because of how important it is with these new kickoff return rules in general. But JT Woods has been added. The Raiders also went out and they signed Jamal Adams. So to me, this is what this means. This means now the Raiders are going to have to move on from a player. So hear me out. When I was gone on my honeymoon, the Silver and Black had 91 players. The Raiders are allowed to have 91 players because they have Lockie Tossie, an International Pathway Program player. The Raiders ended up cutting Carter Bradley, which meant that they were allowed to add one more player. There's been some confusion around Christian Wilkins being placed on the PUP list. Wilkins still counts towards the Raiders' 91-man roster. If it would have been the regular season he gets put on the PUP, then yes, it's not counted towards the roster. But if my math is mathing correctly, this means to me that the Silver and Black are going to have to move on from a certain player. Now, if you ask me in terms of cut candidates, I would say these are the top 10 players most likely that the Raiders would potentially move on from. And these are also the players. I recently did a video last week about ranking the guys from 91 all the way down to 1. If you want to go check out that video, I had Carter Bradley ranked at number 91, and he was the number 1 player that I would have moved on from. I'm glad Pete Carroll and John Spytek listened. For me now, I'm looking at these players that you see up on screen, and these would be the guys that I would cut. Here's the other part of it. Could the Raiders potentially trade somebody on their roster? There's always that open mind. I'll tell you this right now, a video that you guys are guaranteed going to get tomorrow on the show is I'm going to talk about if the Raiders haven't decided exactly what they've done by the end of today, and I still am sitting up here going, I think we got to move on from a player. I'm going to do videos about cut candidates. I'm going to do a video about potential trade candidates because to me, the Raiders have to make this decision. And usually the way that Las Vegas does it is when the Raiders make their official statement, because the Raiders have yet to make an official statement in terms of the signings that they do. Typically what the Raiders do is they'll go, we have signed Jamal Adams, we have signed JT Woods, and in a corresponding move, we are going to waive or cut XYZ player. And I think one of those 10 players that I featured will be one of those dudes. Now, again, could be a trade, could be something else. Now, I appreciate each and every one of y'all that is tuned in right now to the Raiders Report. If you're watching this live, We got over 700 people in the building, which I think is an amazing and beautiful thing that there's this many crazy Raiders fans watching this show on July 22nd. The bottom line is this. When breaking news happens, I got you covered. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on because anytime breaking news happens, nobody's going to keep you more up to date than me here on the Raiders Report. All right, so again, the breaking news that just happened was the Las Vegas Raiders. They went out and they signed Jamal Adams, and they went out and they signed J.T. Woods. You know, that's one of those things where I was expecting a move to be a little bit of a bigger splash, and unfortunately, I think what you're seeing is the Raiders just try to add extra depth before training camp. Now, I know Jamal is saying here that he's in excellent shape. It's the healthiest he's been in years. I hope he goes out there and he works his butt off, and I hope he adds to this compete mentality. I hope he's a good teammate. Like, these are all things that I'm hoping for. But at the exact same time, I do think it's really hard for people to change who they are. And Jamal Adams was actually a player when he was coming out of college at LSU. He was actually regarded as one of the best captains coming out of LSU. He was regarded as a great teammate. And I think he got paid, and I think he got a little bit cocky. I think he got lazy, and he thought his shit didn't stink. And sometimes you've seen players do that. Money can change people. And I'm hoping that everything that I said today about Jamal Adams, I am proven wrong. There is nothing that would make me happier than Jamal Adams going back and looking like a player that was a former first-round pick. Let's go to Venthrak, who right now, I see him, Mount Raidermore in the building. Another head-scratcher by SpyTech. Alex Kappa, Devin White, and now Adams. Why? I think it's the relationship, and that's how I'm going to describe it, where if you have a brand-new regime and you have a bunch of brand-new players, a bunch of young players, I think the Raiders are trying to add some of these veterans that might know the ins and outs of how, Pete Carroll operates, how John SpyTech operates, how past successful organizations have operated. You bring in these players, and if Jamal Adams turns out to be the player that he once was, it's actually probably a halfway decent move. If he turns out to just not being a very good player, then, doesn't get, then we just move on from him. What up, White Hat? Today is right now the top fan on today's show, our guy White Hat. And if you don't know who the top fans are, I see right now it's White Hat at number 1, Cats Joey at number 2, Gary Backus at number 3 for our top fans. If you're like, how do I get one of those crowns that I see in the live chat? You got to become a top fan. Per Adam's tweet, he's the most healthy he's been in years. Yep. I would also say I'm in the best shape I've been in a long time, right? Like, if that's what a player is going to say. You don't expect him to say I'm not in good shape. You expect him to say that he is in good shape. But we'll see what ends up happening. Like, to me, it's not only the fact that Jamal Adams has been unhealthy and a bad player. I just don't think he's a good person. And I'll continue to say it. I really don't. But you know what, White Hat? You are the MVP or YouTube's top fan here on today's stream. And this is a brand new feature that YouTube has launched. The way that you can become a top fan, super chat, or you can comment on the video. Those are the two ways to become a top fan. And they show essentially the top 50 overall. And you'll probably see your name as I'm scrolling through right here. And if you're going, well, Mitch, I can't super chat, comment more. If you're like, how do I get into the top 3 right now? If you super chatted a $50 super chat, I guarantee this, you're in the top 3. If you send in a 50, it's a guarantee you're in the top 3. And then you'll get one of those crowns, and it's a brand new feature. Bottom line is this. Anytime we get a new feature here on YouTube, I want to be able to talk to you all about it, and I think it's another opportunity where we have so many amazing people that tune into the show each and every day that it's going to be another cool opportunity for, you guys to get some love here on this channel. So I want to know down below, grade the signing A, B, C, D, or F. To me, I'm going to give it a D grade. I don't love it. I get that it's a depth move. I don't love the Jamal Adams. To me, like, the JT Woods move makes a little bit more sense to me because I know that he's probably not going to make the roster, and I know that he's just a depth piece, and he's going to add some competition to that room. Jamal Adams, to me, on the other hand, though, I don't know what type of player we're going to get. Is he going to be a benefit in the locker room?
Raiders
We got another signing
signing
by the Las Vegas Raiders.
Antonio
The Raiders
Maffei.
are signing Antonio Maffei, a 2023 third-round pick. So another move by the Raiders. Holy cow. The Raiders are signing another player. Offensive guard, Antonio Maffei. All right, I say let's just film something really quick. Get me a player bio, 60 seconds to it, and we'll just slap it on the end.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the way that has to go. What is going on today, JJ Wiggly? I'm with you, man. So for those of you that do not know, the Raiders have now signed a third player today, and his name is Antonio Maffei. He played with the Indianapolis Colts. Atoni Maffei. Let me see what information I can get on him real quick here. So he was a fifth-round pick, a guard. Here's the connection. Played college football with Chip Kelly at UCLA. So he played college football at UCLA from 2018 to 2022. So he's got a Chip Kelly connection. He's got the Chip Kelly connection. I mean, that's interesting to me. I know, it's kind of getting out of hand, man. So this guy, Maffei, had, it looks like, multiple years. Sorry, Jordan Schultz is DMing me right now. Yeah, he's talking to me about it. Played college football with Chip Kelly at UCLA. I mean, I think there's that connection. So, again, this is a team that just over and over and over again, they're going to show you that they value connections. He was second-team All-Pac-12 in 2022, was on the New England Patriots in 2023, was on the Indianapolis Colts in 2024. From a PFF standpoint, this guy's got no grades in 2024. I'm going to warn you, these grades in 2023 are not going to inspire a lot of confidence. So in 2023, he had 398 snaps at left guard, and he had 60 snaps at right guard, a 32.3 overall PFF grade. I'll tell you this, I've seen a lot of grades. That's probably one of the lowest ones that I've seen. 458 snaps played, 7 penalties, 5 sacks allowed. Yikes. Yeah, I think we can all agree that these are probably just depth moves at this point. If you're tuning in again, the Raiders have signed Jamal Adams. They have signed JT Woods. And now they have signed, how do you say it? Antonio Maffei.
Yeah, Antonio Maffei.
Antonio Maffei. Also, I don't know if you just saw, but somebody just got into our top 3.
Oh.
Lord Cameron Abbott. Bang! It's fun to stay at the LCA. Mount Raider more. Lord Cameron Abbott now climbs into the top 3 for our top fans. I'll tell you this, the only way you're getting in our top 3 fans on this show is if you bang. It's going to be the only way. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be the only way. Crown me. Do you think Pete can rein in Jamal and revamp his career? I mean, I want to say I hope so, and I think that every single Raiders fan here is sitting here going, I hope so. And I do believe in Pete Carroll. I believe in this regime. And I feel like a lot of times, last year when we were talking about Rob Leonard, Caleb Chasen, and just like some of these different players that we had, I believe in Rob Leonard so much. And I do believe in, Marcus Robinson. I believe in Joe Woods. I believe in overall, this Raiders regime and Pete Carroll. But Jamal Adams is a head-scratcher. But look at all 3 of the moves that the Raiders did. Jamal Adams. He's got the connection with Pete Carroll. JT Woods is the one that I'm still looking for where exactly that connection lies. Now, again, he was on the Seahawks practice squad this past season. He was on the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad last year. I know the Raiders brought in some people from Philly's front office. But now you got Antonio Mafi, and he played 4 years with Chip Kelly at UCLA. So there's that connection. He was at UCLA from 2018 to 2022. You know, like that's going to happen. So can we do real quick 60 seconds here? Do you think we already have enough? And then that way they could slap it on that cut. All right, cool. So the Las Vegas Raiders have now made 3 signings today. They first went out and they got Jamal Adams. They then went out and they got JT Woods. And now the Las Vegas Raiders are signing offensive guard Antonio Mafi, 6'3", 330-pounder. He's an offensive guard, a former 5th-round pick. But look at the connection. He played college football with Chip Kelly at UCLA from 2018 to 2022. I'll be very transparent with you. The numbers are not very good. He did not play last season with the Indianapolis Colts. He was on that roster. But in 2023 is where he got the most snaps. 458 snaps played with the New England Patriots. 398 at left guard, 60 snaps at right guard, a 32.3 overall PFF grade, a 27.7 pass blocking grade, a 39.9 run blocking grade. I think that this is just one of those depth moves. They're trying to bring in some extra competition right before training camp. But all 3 of the moves that the Raiders made today are built to compete. That's the hope. But I don't know if any of them end up making this roster. Gary Backus, did some players come in and not pass physicals? I don't know if it's necessarily that. I think what you're looking at is probably more of a situation of the Raiders just knew certain guys weren't going to help their roster, and they wanted to bring in dudes who maybe that they had that connection with, who they had that relationship with. And, you know, the Raiders clearly are making some moves today. They've gone out. They have signed 3 different players. And the fact that they have signed 3 different players today clearly shows me that this is a team that's trying to make some moves. But they added some talent on the offensive line just in terms of overall depth. Let's go to Venthrak. What up, Venthrak? Now, if my math is mathing correctly, this means the Raiders have to cut 2 players now. They're going to have to cut 2 players. Coupon John digging into that bargain bin again. You know, not every move has to be a home run move, but sometimes you need a few singles to create a grand slam. And I'm not saying Mafi, Woods, or Adams is going to be a grand slam. But what if by adding Mafi, it makes Thayer Munford better? What if it makes Jordan Meredith better? What if it makes, Dylan Parham better? Alex Kappa better? Like, they're going to bring in that extra competition. What if it's better for Caleb Rogers? What if it's better for Charles Grant? What if, the signing of Jamal Adams makes Lonnie Johnson Jr. better? What if it means that Trey Taylor and Chris Smith got to step up? Thomas Harper is going to be playing in the slot here a little bit more. For a guy like JT Woods, very athletic, 4.36 speed, ran at the 40 at the combine. They're bringing in long, lanky guys. I think at the end of the day, if you feel like people can help make your team better now, and it's not going to translate to wins now, but if you bring in extra competition, does that elevate everybody else around you, which will then make you better in the long run? I mean, to me, that's what these moves have to be. This is me looking at it glass half full, and I think that that's the way that if you're a Raiders fan, you got to do it right now. You got to look at these moves as glass half full, because if you're sitting up here going and you're dissecting each and every one of these moves from are they going to play standpoint, I'll be real. I hope Jamal Adams doesn't step foot on the field. I hope JT Woods doesn't step foot on the field. I hope Mafi doesn't step foot on the field, because that means that I would say other players either underperformed or injuries ended up happening. That's just my 2 cents, though. So, again, the Raiders now have gone out, and they have signed Antonio Mafi to this roster, and 3 big moves by the Raiders. So, if you could for me, Colin, can you go to that Raiders cut candidates for me? And what I want the nation to do is this. This is just my best guesstimate of who the Raiders could potentially move on from. If you had to pick 2 names on this list who would be the two names that you would go with? If it was up to me, I'm probably going to move on from one of the receivers of Katron Jackson, Keyshawn Smith, or Shedrick Jackson. Probably going to move on from one of those guys. I then would look at potentially a Gottlieb Adiz. Maybe a Parker Clements would be another player that you could potentially move on from. Ovi could be another one down there below. Somebody said cut Hufford and Shedrick. You're probably going to have to move on from at least two players. Again, if my math is mathing correctly, if the Raiders do want to officially make this move happen, and again, the Silver and Black have not actually reported that these are officially official. I do know that these moves have been made, but until they are officially official, that's probably when you're going to see the Raiders put out the two players that they decided to move on from. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. So we're live here on the show. I got 800 people pulled up watching the show right now, and if you could do me a solid, could you show the deal that I have for the Genty jersey? You can either do the player one or the team card, either what. Just make sure the team card's got the correct dates on it, because we're 16 days away from the Raiders' first preseason game. That would be the only thing that I ask. Wolverine 209. I don't know, so I'm cutting by position, cut wide receivers. I think that's a good way to look at it, Yoda. I mean, that's kind of why I have the amount of receivers that I do have up here. To everybody that's watching the show right now, if you don't know, I will be live for every single Raiders preseason game this upcoming season. And the deal that I have for all of you is this. We are about 600 and I'll say probably 50 now, maybe like 640 subs away from getting to 196,000 subs. If we get to 196,000 subscribers by the time the Raiders and the Seahawks play their game, August 7th, it's a late one, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, we will give away an Ashton Genty jersey on the show. All you're going to have to do is be subscribed. That's all you're going to have to do. If we get to 196,000 subs by Thursday, August 7th, by the time the Raiders kick that game off, we're about 640 away, I'm going to give away an Ashton Genty jersey. So if you're a first-time watcher, one, you can't comment unless you're subscribed. So two, comment, join the show, and who knows, maybe you end up winning an Ashton Genty jersey. I know there's a bunch of people out there that also would love to be able to do that. So I'm looking right now about any other moves. I mean, so many freaking moves by the Raiders today. Holy cow, man. Does it come in extra large? Yeah. I would say the jersey sizes are small all the way up to like 5XL. I think it's small all the way up to 5XL. So 721 people here in the building. Do we have any questions? Do we have any comments? I want you to use hashtag Raiders, or you can super chat to skip the line. I do have a little bit of a favor to ask, though, Cullen. I kind of have to go pee real quick. I'm going to go take a quick pee. As soon as I get back, though, I don't see any other Raiders news that has happened. I'm almost cautious to go to the next segment. But I say we stay up here. We talk about everything going on around the Raiders. And I know we had another segment to do. So we still have one more to get to, and we'll get to it a little bit later here. And we still have a duck race to do, which, by the way, the last time that I checked, it was a $20 Venmo to get in. Mitchell Renz 365. You would have an opportunity to go home with $140 here on the Raiders Report. I'll be right back.
What up, Raider Nation? Been a minute. How are you guys doing? Again, you guys just want to use hashtag Raiders. I could answer some questions while Mitch is running the restroom real quick. Do you think the people we sign should play during the preseason? I think that's the most opportune time to play guys that you're not sure if they're going to make your roster or not. So, yes. Mitch, do you want the Raiders to go after Trey after not reporting today, making it a very good chance he is traded? Kind could be an option for the. Again, it depends on price and everything, right? I just personally still think that the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson are going to get a deal done, but we'll see. What up, big dog? What up, Tybo? Is there another signing coming today? Stefan, at this point, who knows? Who knows? Colin, do you think Gruden is a... Listen, at the end of the day, can't say what you said. All right, chat, was it Jeremy Chugs? Chugs will be back next week. I think he's currently on vacation, so he'll be back here at Chat Sports next week. But yeah, in the meantime, Mitch is kind of having a rotation of us filling in. Appreciate y'all rocking with me, though. Adams can't cover his own nose. That is so true. He has never really been the best cover guy throughout his NFL career, and especially now at his advanced age. He is, it's not great. Not great. Raider Sancho says Raiders win one playoff game this year. I'm calling it. Love the energy. Love the energy. Do you think that they'll also wait for roster cuts to pick up some more players? Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, like there's surprise cuts. I feel like every kind of end of preseason right before the season starts. So the Raiders absolutely probably will step up. Step up. Appreciate the love, guys. Appreciate the love. What do you think they go after, Gabe Davis or Justin Simmons? To me personally, I think Justin Simmons is a sneaky guy that the Raiders could go after. The safety market in general, I know they just signed Jamal Adams. There's still a lot of really good guys out there, whether it's Justin Simmons, whether it is a Quandre Diggs. I think Justin Blackman from the Colts is still out there. There's a lot of really talented safeties out there that the Raiders could sign. And look, they added one. So, Philip, I normally produce our Bears channel here at Chat Sports. But, yeah, filling in for Chugs today here on the Raiders Report. And, yeah, happy to rock with you guys. Let's see. Yo, appreciate it. What up, Richard? The Bears from Slammy. Absolutely. Who knows, Captain? Who knows? Again, at the end of the day, I think Adams, all three of those guys at the bottom of your screen, Adams, Woods, and Mafi, I think those are more likely depth pieces. But you never know, right? You never freaking know. How much did Adams sign for the vet minimum? I'll double check here. I don't think we know the details of his contract yet, but I would imagine it's for the vet minimum. Just going to check here real quick. I'm not seeing anything. But I would presume that means the vet minimum. Not confirmed, but we shall see. Appreciate all the love. No, I'm not a Bears fan. I'm actually a Seahawks fan, believe it or not. But yeah, I work for our Bears channel and then occasionally fill in for other channels here at Chat Sports. So, yeah. Here we go. Feel better?
Yep. I am back better than ever. Shout out to Cullen for holding it down on the Raiders Report here. So, again, the breaking news that happened, the Raiders signed Jamal Adams, JT Woods, and Antonio Mafi. Those have been the three players that the Silver and Black have signed. And shortly, you guys will see a video on the Raiders Report channel of me breaking all of that down. I'm hoping that goes out sooner rather than later. I just don't see it yet. Okay. Yeah, sooner or later. It'll go out. Oh man, what a crazy move there. But you know what I think I should do real quick? If you could we real quickly go through all three player bios, and that way I can get a short out of it as well. And then just we'll tell Durham to just cut that up and then add me as a collab. Cool. Yep, Steven Stuttgart, and I hope we sign a big name during training camp or extend Miller and Myers contracts. Mr. Spytech, please go all in. I wanted the Raiders to sign Justin Simmons. Like, if you would have told me today that the Raiders signed three players, Because what I've been saying is I want Justin Simmons, Julian Blackmon, or Jadeveon Clowney. To me, those would have been the top 3 free agents that I would have gone after. And I get it. Like, maybe the Raiders just aren't looking for those type of players. But I do really, really, truly think that all 3 of these guys are just bottom of the roster guys. Quite frankly, I don't think any of them make the roster. Now, again, anybody can surprise. Anybody can show up. And if Jamal Adams is healthy and motivated, maybe he goes back to being a good player. But at the same time, he's been so bad for 4 years. Like, he's been really, really bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like when he's been healthy, he's been good. He's been really bad. Cool. All right. Sounds good. I do have another segment for all of y'all coming up here on today's show, but I do see a lot of people are still joining, so I just want to quickly go through the breaking news that happened today around the Raiders signing 3 players. The Las Vegas Raiders have signed 3 players to their roster. The first and the big name, Jamal Adams. He's got the connection to Pete Carroll. He played 4 years with him. My only concern with Adams is he doesn't offer a lot of coverage ability, and he hasn't been healthy. And he called a reporter's wife something not great. He ended up deleting the tweet. Just a little bit concerned about bringing in bad people to this Raiders organization. Let's go to another move that the Raiders made. J.T. Woods, athletic corner, long, lanky, ran a 4.36 40-yard dash at the combine, was a former Charger. I think this is more of a special teams type of move. And then now, most recently, the Raiders brought in offensive guard Antonio Mafi. He played 4 years at UCLA with Chip Kelly. We know how important Raiders connections are when you discuss this team. But if my math is mathing correctly, this means the Raiders have to move on from 2 players from their roster. So if you want to get your questions, comments on the show, make sure that you use hashtag Raiders, or you can skip that line and super chat to get featured on this program. I did just see 2 people got in the duck race, Jerry Watson, Lord Cameron Abbott. You guys are in. It's a $20 Venmo. At Mitchell Renz 365 is where it stands right now. And Ron Raspberry said 601. Love it. Let's freaking go, Raider Nation. You know what, Ron? You've been killing it. We did just hit 600 likes. Before I get into the next segment on today's show, I'm going to give away not 1, not 2, not 3. We're going to give away 6. 6 free raffle entries to join our fantasy football league here on the Raiders Report. So some of y'all might be asking, Mitch, how do I get in right now? Here's what I want you to do. I want y'all to spam, let's do, what do you think? What's a good one, Colin?
Ooh.
What's one we haven't done in a while? You know what? Ron said LFG. Let's get some LFGs, some let's frickin' goes down below. Because I know that the 3 signings that the Raiders made are not big-name guys, but it's at least something. And when you go through the dog days of May, the dog days of June, the dog days of July, to actually get some legit Raiders news makes me feel like that we're one step closer. We got Raiders training camp today. You know, like Raiders training camp's there today. You know who's another player that's sneaky that could get cut? Charles Snowden. And I say that because Snowden, he has a court case today for a DUI case that he had back on December 10th, 2024. So what if that court case today, and again, I haven't gotten any information on it. What if there's information that the Raiders know that he's going to get suspended even more than 3 games? And not saying that it's been said that he's going to get suspended for 3 games, but people who have a DUI in the NFL, first-time offenders, it's typically a 3-game suspension. That could be another player to keep in mind as a potential suspension candidate. All right, I see some LFGs. So, Cullen, where you've been keeping track of all these raffle entries, I'm going to close my eyes here, and I'm just going to say some names, or less. Or do you think it'd be easier for you to see them and then write it down?
Here, I can, or you can, here, I'll write them down. I'll here. Do you want me to, you know what?
What?
How many, we're giving away 6. Why don't we do 3 and 3?
All right, let's do it.
Okay. You start.
I got the first one. Eyes closed. The name that I just saw pop up is God, Family, and Raiders for Life. First one I saw. All right, close. You got the next one?
Yep, I'll do the next one. 3, 2, 1, boom. I see J.G. Wrigley.
J.G. Wrigley.
Or J.J. Wrigley, excuse me.
It's all good.
There we go.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Raider _ Jamie or Jaime. Jaime was the name I just saw.
Dope. All right. 3, 2, 1. Jake Serb.
Love it.
Jake Serb, you're in.
3, 2, 1. Philip B. So we got one more.
All right.
One more.
Last one. 3, 2, 1. Luis Calderon.
Luis Calderon. Those are the 6 that we have just given a fantasy football raffle ticket to. But here's the thing. We're also going to be giving away more tickets today, and we're going to give some away to the top fans. So top fans is a brand new feature here on the Raiders Report, and if you are ranked in anywhere in the top 20 today for the top fans, you are going to get some Raiders Report raffle tickets. Now, as it stands right now, here is where the top 20 are. We have the top 3, and these are the names that you're probably been seeing with some of the crowns down in the chat. All the way down, you can just go to the top 20. If you come in from 3 in the top 3, I'm going to give you 50 raffle tickets. If you come in places from 4 to 10, I'm going to give you 25 raffle tickets. If you are in from 11 to 20, which Zalesbo and Captain Steve are right there, I'm going to give you, I think it was 10. I'm going to give you 10 raffle tickets to get into our Fantasy Football League. The winner is going to be announced July 31st, where we're going to take the MVP, who right now the Bang MVP for the month of July, as it stands, is Patrick Roche. Roche has got 12. Vutter's got 10. Interesting, man. Interesting. So, again, appreciate each and every one of y'all spamming. Let's freaking go right now. Shout out to Ron Raspberry for the idea. I say this. I say we get into the final segment here on today's show. Then I got a duck race to do, and then if no other Raiders news happens, I'll get out of here. I don't know. We've been live today for now, going over a little bit 3 hours. We went live for the Pete Carroll press conference, and I am today's been an interesting day, man. Today has been a very, very interesting day around the Raiders circle. There is no doubt about it. Let me just check here on when that cut's going to be going out. I think we're getting close. So I'm going to switch up. Can you I'll do the change later. Yeah, I just see the title that they have. And we're going to do and 2 other players. Hang on a second. Yeah, I think I'd rather do that. I'd rather do that one. I'm going to get out of here, though. All right. You guys ready? I know, sorry again for everyone that's tuned in right now. When there's moving parts and when there's breaking news over and over again, I just got to be able to talk to my team. And since I don't have Jeremy here, it's a little bit of a extra kink into the chain, if you will. But luckily, Cullen is one of the best we have here, and I'm super happy that Cullen is a part of today's live show. It's just, I got to talk to my team. I got to tell them exactly what we're doing. I'm not ready for you to leave me, Mitch, from Live Oak. You know what, Live Oak? I was going to make a joke because you always make jokes, but I feel like I can't make the joke. Live Oak, I love you, dude. You're such a – every time you comment, you bring a smile to my face, and I think it's one of my favorite parts about this job is the amount of people that I've never met in person that bring a smile to my face each and every day. It's one of my favorite things that I do here on this show. So the next thing that we're going to get into is I'm going to call these must-see Raiders rumors from ESPN, and we're going to be breaking this show down, so hang out with me for 12, 15, who knows, maybe this segment's 20 minutes. I don't know how long it is, but you're going to see some of the Just Win babies. Just so y'all know, you're going to see some of the Just Win babies coming up here on today's show. And if you didn't know, the Week 18 Madden game is going to be a huge game for the Las Vegas Raiders. Live Oak, bro, you're a real one, bro. I appreciate you. I want you to know that. You ready, my man, Cullen? Cullen says he's ready to rock and roll. I hope that the nation is ready to rock and roll. Coming up here on today's show, we're going to get into some must-see rumors from ESPN. Before we dive into some must-see rumors from ESPN, I don't know if y'all know this, but the Raiders are battling for the AFC West in our Madden live season. Week 18, we're going to be live Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, the final live show of the week. We're going to go Raiders Friday happy hour on a Thursday. We got the 11-4-1 Raiders. If they beat Kansas City, we're the AFC West champs. Make sure you pull up because as it stands right now for our Madden playoff picture, the silver and black are in the thick of it. And if they get a dub, they jump all the way up those rankings, and they will be the 2 seed in the AFC, and that means they're going to be going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. You probably noticed that the Chiefs and the Raiders have one less game. It's because I already ran the simulation for the other teams. So if the Raiders win, they play the Bengals. If the Raiders lose, they're going to be going up against the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs. But you know what? Give me some FKCs down below. I don't care that it's Madden. I want to beat the Chiefs. I'm Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report. And coming up here on today's show, I got some must-see Raiders rumors from ESPN. And you know what? I haven't brought out the Just Win babies in a little while. So today, we're going to be breaking out some of the Just Win babies. The first one that's coming up here from ESPN, the Las Vegas Raiders' biggest strength on this team is the defensive line. I'm going to give this one to Just Win babies. And I'm going to say people are talking. Now, the way that this show is going to go is I'm going to go through the stories that ESPN has. I'm going to tell you exactly what the Sports Center has to say, and then I'm going to give you my reaction and tell you why I'm giving each one of these rumors either 4 Just Win babies, 3, 2, 1, or tuck rule, tuck that. Here's what ESPN had to say on the Raiders' biggest strength. It's defensive line. New year, same strength. The Raiders already have Max Crosby, 7th in the league with 34.5 sacks, and first among edge rushers with 223 tackles over the past 3 seasons. And get back of one of the league's top defensive tackles in Christian Wilkins, who's 5th among defensive tackles with 9 sacks in 2023 before missing all but 4 games last season. Edge Malcolm Kuntz, torn ACL in Week 1 of 2024, will also return, and Las Vegas hopes to get more from 2023 first-round pick Tyree Wilson. Defensive tackle depth behind Watkins and Adam Butler remain a concern. I believe that's supposed to say Wilkins. I think actually ESPN has a typo in that. But this unit has plenty of potential. And you know what? I completely agree with what ESPN is saying, and I'll be transparent. If you told me right now Christian Wilkins is 100% healthy and Wilkins plays all 17 games, I don't even need all 17. If you tell me Christian Wilkins is 100% healthy, which I know he isn't, but if we can still get a good version of Wilkins out there, I will agree with you that the defensive line on this Raiders team is its strength. I think Crosby's one of the best in the biz. I think Adam Butler's one of the most underappreciated players in the biz. I think Christian Wilkins can be a great player to take on double teams, to free up Tyree Wilson, to help out Malcolm Kuntz. This defensive line is how this team is going to win games on defense, and they better win on defense with the line of scrimmage, because our secondary does make me a little bit nervous. The other reason, though, why you have to consider this a strength, Rob Leonard is the best defensive line coach in the National Football League, and the work that that guy does with the amount of talent that we have, I agree with ESPN saying that it is the biggest strength, but because Christian Wilkins is a little bit of a to me, I would simply say because he's an unknown, our tight end room is also very flippin' good. So let me know down below, is the Raiders' defensive line their biggest strength this season? Give me a yes. Give me a no. I want to know from every single one of y'all. If you bleed silver and black, if you're a Raiders fan, if you're watching Raiders videos in the middle of July, you're a diehard mother effer, and I rock with you. Give me a yes. Give me a no down in the comment section. To me, the Raiders' biggest strengths are defensive line. You have to talk about it. It's stacked from top to bottom. The tight end room, you have the best tight end in the National Football League. And imagine if Michael Mayer takes a step forward. We will have the number one tight end room in the NFL. I'll also say one of the biggest strengths is the running game with Ashton Genty, with a quarterback like Geno, with receivers that are willing to block, with tight ends that can catch the football. I think this Raiders running game is going to be a lot sneaky good compared to what people realize. And then earlier on the live show, I forget who it was, somebody was like, Mitch, this Raiders coaching staff, this Raiders front office doesn't get enough love. And I agree with you. I actually think it's one of the biggest strengths that this team has. And I think if you were to rank the Raiders coaching staff and front office, I think they have a top 10, potentially top 5 unit from top to bottom. If you don't know my preseason week 1 deal, I want you to listen up, and I want you to listen up right now. If you want a Ashton Genty jersey, if we get to 196,000 subscribers by the Raiders' first preseason game up against the Seattle Seahawks on August 7th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, it's going to be a late one. I'm going to give away a free jersey. No super chat required. All you got to do is be there. You got to be subscribed. We're going to be giving away an Ashton Genty jersey. But got to get to 196,000 subs. You got about 2 weeks to do it. I think we can get there. Let's go to the next story here from ESPN on a must-see Raiders rumor. Is the Las Vegas Raiders secondary their biggest weakness? Also, shout out to Lord Cameron Abbott and Ryan Campbell, who are throwing bangs after bangs on the live show right now. Guess what? This one's for Just Win, babies, and I'm going to say believe it, baby. Now, when I first decided to make this show, the Raiders didn't sign J.T. Woods, and the Raiders didn't sign Jamal Adams, but I'll be clear, it's still the weakest part of this entire team is this secondary, and I agree with ESPN. This is what they had to say. Trevon Merrick, Jack Jones, and Nate Hobbs rank 1st, 3rd, and 10th, respectively, among Raiders defenders in snaps played in 2024. None will return in 2025. Eric Stokes, who didn't work out in Green Bay, could be the team's top corner. Jacorian Bennett, DeCamerion Richardson, Darnay Holmes, and third-round rookie Darian Porter are also competing for starting jobs. At safety, solid journeyman Jeremy Chin was brought in to replace Merrick opposite of Isaiah Pola-Mao, who graded 37th at PFF among 41 safeties with 900-plus snaps in 2024. Now, let me be very clear on this. ESPN is going off of the show that I did. Technically, you guys will see it on Wednesday. If you watch the show live on Tuesday, then you already probably know the Raiders starting roster. But they don't believe that Darian Porter is going to be a starter. And they also say that Darnay Holmes is working for a starting spot. I'm telling you right now, Darnay Holmes ain't in the conversation to be a starter. I think that just shows that ESPN doesn't necessarily know the team as well as sometimes what we think. But I do agree with the idea that the Raiders, I think, have one of the league's worst secondaries. But let's be clear. There is legit upside. Jacorian Bennett, legit upside. Darian Porter, legit upside. Eric Stokes, legit upside. The Raiders and Pete Carroll are clearly valuing their ability to develop corners, to develop safeties. The reason why I think it's the biggest weakness is because of the free safety position, the nickel corner position. I think we have a lot of solid players against the run, but to me, I want the Raiders to go out and sign a free safety. Hell, I would love for the Raiders to go out and get a guy pictured right here, Justin Simmons. Maybe you go out and get a guy like Julian Blackmon. To me, this secondary does need some improvement. We have the money to go out there and do it. I am not a big believer in Jamal Adams. I know J.T. Woods brings a lot of speed to that team. That's probably more just a special teams guy and not somebody that I think ends up making that 53-man roster. I agree with ESPN saying that the Raiders secondary is the weakest link. But the way this defense is made, you need the defensive line to be good, or else this secondary could really struggle. Let's go to the next story here coming in from ESPN. It is Jackson Powers-Johnson, the Raiders' biggest X factor for this upcoming season. Do I think he's an X factor? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think he's one of the more underrated centers in the league? Oh, yeah, I definitely do. Call him the biggest X factor, though. I'm going to give this one only one just win, baby, and I'm going to say it's a small shred of truth. Do I think that he's going to make a big impact on this team? Of course I do. He's the center. He's going to touch the football more than anybody else does on this team. More than Geno Smith, right? He's going to be the one calling hike. And I think he's going to be a reason why we set that tone. But I'll tell you why I have it only as a one shred of truth. Here's what ESPN had to say. Center Jackson Powers-Johnson split time between guard and center as a rookie. At guard, he ranked 4th in pass block win rate, though this dropped to 20th at center, and 6th in run block win rate, moved up to 1st at center. Given that first-year linemen typically struggle, there's a chance that Raiders have a star. If they do, they should help new Raiders quarterback Geno Smith, Ashton Jeanty, and offensive coordinator Chip Kelly work some magic. Now, I do anticipate JPJ to make a major impact on this team. But I hate to say it, and I shouldn't even say I hate to say it, but I think it's the obvious answer. I think the obvious answer for the biggest X factor on this team, it's got to be Geno Smith. Like, if you tell me why the Raiders make the playoffs, it's Geno Smith. I'm not going to sit up here and go, the Raiders made the playoffs because of JPJ or the Raiders missed the playoffs because of JPJ. Yes, having a great center is extremely important. We saw that in the amount of years when we had Rodney Hudson, who was probably the best center for about a 10-year stretch. I do think that he is the perfect center for a Chip Kelly-ran offense with a running back like Ashton Jeanty, with a bunch of other players that we're trying to do, because the Raiders want to be a physical team. And JPJ is a key part of the Raiders wanting to be very physical. And I know for a fact that the Raiders want to be a very physical football team. But at the end of the day, you probably got to sit back and go, Geno Smith is probably this team's biggest impact, or biggest X factor, if you will. Coming up next here on the show, though, I'm going to get into who is the Raiders non-starter that ESPN wants you to know about. Because ESPN released this article. They put out interesting comments, and overall, I thought it was pretty interesting from top to bottom that what they had to say on the non-starter. I'll also say this. You're going to see me talk about some other non-starters that I believe deserve some love, but we have to remember that this is based off of an ESPN article, and the players that I'm going to talk about, they put as non-starters. But I think some of you might look at a few of the players and go, well, Mitch, they might end up getting a start. Just hang on with me for just a second. One guy that I do expect to be a big X factor, it's Ashton Jeanty. And I know I've been saying all week that this jersey's on sale, and it is on sale. And I hope that it's still on sale when you click on this video. Go to chatsports.com/Jeanty. And if you could, click on this bad boy. There are sizes from small all the way up to 5XL. But Ashton Jeanty jerseys are on sale. You can get it right now. If you plan on getting a jersey, you might as well save $26 and get your hands on the NFL's best running back. Let's go to the final story here on today's show. J.J. Pegues is a non-starter to know. This one is for just win, babies. Believe it, baby. And I completely agree with ESPN that I want everybody to know who J.J. Pegues is, because one of my favorite notes from the NFL draft was Tom put, he calls him Pegasus because he's a mix between a Pegasus and a unicorn because of all the different things that he's able to do. Here's what ESPN had to say. Defensive tackle J.J. Pegues, in case you haven't heard, this rookie was a 325-pound Wildcat quarterback in college. Oh, and he also excelled tackling grades from PFF. Alongside do-everything former Montana State quarterback turned receiver turned return man Tommy Mellott, there is no doubt the Raiders had the most interesting sixth round of the 2025 NFL Draft, and I agree with that. Here's some of the reasons why, though, I want people to know who Pegues is. In college, he had 21 carries. 18 of those carries resulted in a first down or a touchdown. Do you remember a few months ago, that the Raiders also decided to look at players like, or they decided to move on and vote against the tush push? Because they decided to vote against the tush push, I actually think that one of the reasons why they did that was because they had Pegues, was because they had Tommy Mellott. And I know that I talked about that. He is a very versatile player. He's played defensive tackle. He's played defensive end. He's played running back. He's played fullback. He's played Wildcat quarterback. And if Wilkins misses time, this could be a player that gets extra playing time for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think that's important to note. Now, again, the players that you're going to see as other non-starters to know is simply based off of the ESPN article. But I'll tell you this, there's going to be a player or two on here you're going to go, well, wait a minute, Mitch. I think that guy could be a starter. Other non-starters based on ESPN's article that I think it's important for you guys to know. Dante Thornton Jr., Jordan Meredith, Darian Porter, Tommy Mellott, Thomas Harper are the other 5 players that I need you guys to realize and think about as some of these non-starters. So again, I first started doing this show, I would always break down things around ESPN, and I would break down things from other people out there. If you made it this far in the program, I hope you hit that subscribe button. I hope you turn on those notifications, and I hope that you always tune in to the Raiders Report, because when breaking news happens, when other news happens, I am always going to do my best to make sure that you guys are staying up to date. More breaking news for the Raiders. The Silver and Black have gone out and they have signed wide receiver Phillip Dorsett. So now the Raiders have signed another player. Holy cow, dude. I mean, Phillip Dorsett. Holy cow, man. Also, what I thought was interesting, if you could for me, I'm also going to send you this. All right, you have the Aaron Wilson one? Yep. Cool. All right, so also the Raiders also, all right, they've waived multiple players. We have everything that they have. We're going to have to do another cut. All right, so coming up here on the show, we're going to break down the Raiders signing Phillip Dorsett. Now the Raiders have officially signed 4 players, and the Raiders have officially moved on from cornerback Mello Dotson, wide receiver Zachary Franklin, wide receiver Keyshawn Smith, and linebacker Jalen Walker. So the Raiders have cut 4 players. They have cut Mello Dotson, Zachary Franklin, Keyshawn Smith, and Jalen Walker. Holy cow. Oh, man. Yep. They are adding people left and right. I also just saw that the Raiders... can you also add this one for me? The Raiders also worked out defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, which that was actually a player that I said multiple times on this show that I wanted the Raiders to go out and look at. So, what do we have here? All right, so here's what we got. Who the heck is this now? Did they also sign Seth Williams? All right, y'all, hang on a second here. I'm also seeing that the Raiders have signed wide receiver Seth Williams, who he was on the DC Defenders last season. Or I guess technically most recently, UFL champion, Cowboys practice squad, Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh my goodness. Yep. The Raiders have signed former UFL wide receiver Seth Williams. So now the list has just gotten a little bit longer. Again, y'all, bear with me. I'm doing my best to be able to bring in all this news to you when I can. I also know that 2 people ended up banging. Just give me some time here. So what we're gonna do is, I know the Raiders have already signed Jamal Adams. I know they've signed Phillip. They've signed J.T. Woods, Antonio Mafi. But now we're also finding out that the Raiders have signed wide receiver Seth Williams, and then the Raiders have also signed wide receiver Phillip Dorsett. The Silver and Black have decided to cut multiple players, including Mello Dotson. I see... Oh, man. I lost the name. Mello Dotson, Zachary Franklin, Keyshawn Smith, Jalen Walker. So if my math is mathing correctly, we are all good now. Because now this means we're at 91 total players. We are at 91 total players. Holy cow, dude. It's been a hell of a day, man. Yep. We're good. All right, so I see a few people that are getting in the duck race again. The Raiders have now also signed wide receivers Philip Dorsett and Seth Williams. Seth Williams was on a UFL team last season. Technically, the DC Defenders was the team that he was on. Was on the Broncos in 2021. Was on the Jags practice squad from 2022 to 2023. And it was also on the Cowboys practice squad last season. So 2 games in the NFL, started 1 game, 1 target, 1 catch, 34 yards and a first down for Denver in 2021. That's pretty crazy. For Williams, though, he played college football at Auburn, drafted in the 6th round in 2021, the 219th pick. Oh, dude. I mean, they are adding guys left and right now. Somebody said, I really like Mello Dotson. Yeah. So Aaron Wilson tweeted this out. Again, Wilson wasn't 100% accurate because, yes, we did sign Jamal Adams. The Raiders also signed Philip Dorsett. I know it's not mentioned in there. And then Quentin Jefferson. He's been a player that I've been talking about for weeks to say, hey, like, go get this guy. But those are some of the names. There's been a flurry of moves that have happened today. The Raiders moved on from Mello Dotson, Zachary Franklin, Keyshawn Smith, Jalen Walker. So that's cornerback UDFA from Kansas. Zachary Franklin was a UDFA wide receiver from Illinois. Keyshawn Smith was added after the draft. I don't remember where exactly he played. And then Jalen Walker was a UDFA linebacker from Indiana. So because the Raiders have signed 5 players today, that means that they had to move on from 4 because the Raiders already moved on from Carter Bradley, so they had that extra spot, and that's what you're seeing now the Raiders do. Again, sorry for – bear with me, man. Bear with me, y'all. But I know a lot of different moving parts have happened. Coming up here on the show, what we will decide to do is we're going to go through every single move that the Raiders have made. So if you could illustrate out to them that we're going to need another highlight cut. Okay. Yep. So Pelissero has the Raiders signed a handful of veterans, including former Pro Bowl safety Jamal Adams and wide receiver Philip Dorsett. I mean, when you see this many a flurry of moves, it is pretty crazy. Pretty freaking crazy, man. Luis says also extra spot because Wilkins on the PUP list. Again, that's not true. So I don't know who's telling y'all that because Wilkins on the PUP list, he doesn't count towards the roster. He does count towards the roster. If it would have been the NFL regular season, you could put on the PUP list, then you don't count towards the roster. But Christian Wilkins on the PUP list count towards the Raiders' 90-man roster. I know I've said that a few times, but I just gotta tell you. Okay? Just gotta say it again. Christian Wilkins, he didn't injure himself celebrating the sack, and he is counting towards the 90-man roster. Chicken Nugget, do I like the Adams signing? No, I do not. I think we have more than enough here to get through it. Player bios, if possible, on those other guys. I see a few people asking me if I got in the duck race. Let me see here real quick. We are going to do a duck race at the very, very end of today's show. The last name that I saw was Jerry Watson. Mo Chavez, I got you in. Gabriel Ruiz, I got you in. Dimitri Williams, I got you in. Ryan Campbell, what's up, my brother? You in? And then Richard Renz, my dad, is in the duck race. So as it stands right now, it is a $20 Venmo. You would go home with $210 here on today's program. Before we get into the next segment, though, I do want to be very clear. I will go through all the super chats that have come in here on today's program. And I know that we got 2 bangs. So to Ryan and Lord Cameron Abbott, thank you guys for being patient. We're just trying to get everything updated on our end. And also Because Lord Cameron Abbott's last bang, Cameron, you now hold the record here on the Raiders Report for highest XP ever gained on a live show. Again, this is a new feature that YouTube has just launched, but right now, Lord Cameron Abbott's 10,150 XP is the most XP ever gained on a live show. All 5. Yep. Do Dorsett first. We'll do Seth Williams. And then I think we talk about the cuts that were made, and then it'll be like, also, these are the moves that we've already discussed. Yep, I think that's the way that we got to do it, because the other video already went out. Cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy has today been? 1, nothing at all. 10, it's been a flurry. It has been a flurry of moves over and over and over again. What I love, though, is the fact that this show is just, you guys are always freaking crazy to me, man, and it does really, truly always blow my mind, but I think the fact that we've had this many moves, football's back, man. You know what I mean? Like, football's back. It feels good that football's back. I know that these are probably minor moves that the Raiders have been making, but these are moves that need to be able to happen to get closer to Raiders training camp, and it feels good, dude. It feels good. Raider Nation 2025 says it's a 10. Seth's going to go with a 10. JJ Wiggly says 10. What up, God Family Raider for life? 10. 7 more likes to hit 700. Let's frickin' go. We are 1 like away from what I see right now. Russ Cook's going to go with a 10. Lord Cameron Abbott, 4 just win babies. How about them numbers? If you're talking about numbers in terms of contract, if I had to guess, every single deal that you probably see right now is probably a 1 year at the vet minimum, $1.2 million. And I can't imagine that it's anything more than that. If it is more than that, it might be like Jamal Adams, 1.2 mil with incentives to make up to like $2 million. Like, I would view it the way that the Raiders structure the contracts around Devin White probably is what it's going to look like for the Raiders. But a flurry of moves that the Raiders have made, and I'm going to be breaking it all down here in just a moment. That's okay. I mean, I think just show who they are, like, in terms of, like, the tweet. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Hang on. All right. I think it's make no, I think it's like Raiders. Honestly, I do Raiders make 9 roster moves. Can you give Harry the list of the players that were cut? Actually, I have a better one for you. You don't need to put that one in, but that's all the moves. He's got it now. Yep. Holy cow, man. What a day here on the Raiders Report. It's good to be here, man. And I know at any time when breaking news happens, don't get me wrong, I'm never afraid to sit up here, chug some beers. I'm never afraid to sit up here and get a little bit wet and wild with the Raiders fans, but at the same time, I want y'all to know you will become a smarter Raiders fan by watching this program. You will get to know other Raiders fans better than any other YouTube channel out there by watching and subscribing to this channel. We are a family. We continue to grow each and every day. And if we get to 196,000 subs, I'm going to give away an Ashton Genty jersey for that Week 1 game. But I mean this. I take this job very, very seriously. And if you are a Raiders fan that wants to be the smartest Raiders fan in your group, hit that subscribe button right now. You're going to learn a lot about the silver and black. I will run laps around anybody, and I will say that to the day that I die. Nobody covers the Raiders like we do here at Chat Sports, and nobody knows this team from top to bottom like we do here at the Raiders Report. And I'm very, very proud to say that. That's a reason why we've been the #1 most watched Raiders show for the past 7 years. And honestly, it's not even close. What up, Jake Serb? See you down there below. Megalodon says Jamal Adams is washed. I agree. I do not think he's a very good player, man. Yeah, Alec M. While Seth Williams didn't even play that much on the DC Defenders, I almost wonder if that's like a special teams move. Again, like I think at this point in the offseason, you're looking for players that might be able to help you out more on special teams. Like one rule that I never really thought about, just from like talking to some of the guys that I talk to, you got to think about there's always gunners, right? And a lot of times NFL teams will look for wide receivers that they can use so much on special teams as just kind of being, they just run a lot. They are always on kickoff. They're always on punt return. They're just constantly doing sprints on special teams. And it's not something that every single player wants to do, but we'll see. Oh, man. Richard Schneider, facts, at Renz, Chat Sports #1. And I think if you're not confident, right, like Pete Carroll earlier today said, my expectations are very high. Pete Carroll's got high expectations for himself and this Raiders team. I also have high expectations for myself and for this Raiders YouTube channel. And I know this, the amount of people that show up here when live news happens, the amount of people that pull up here when Raiders game day, it's because I think we've earned that respect. But I also will say this, y'all have earned my respect, right? Like I do the amount of hours that we work here. We put out the amount of content that we do because it's a two-way street. Raider Nation shows up, so we show up for Raider Nation. That's how friends do it. That's how family does it, and it's why, you get people doing crazy shit all the time. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get to the breaking news. I know we got some other super chats that I got to get to. I will get to the super chats. Okay, do you want to do the super chats real quick? All right, we're going to go through the super chats. And then we will get into the breaking news because the Raiders have made 9 roster moves. 9 roster moves. It's pretty wild, man. Raider Rob, 1969. I don't want to drink today. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I drank quite a bit during my honeymoon. Alex and I think we had either a glass of wine. We did a shot of tequila every single day before dinner, and like the hosts that we had, because the resort we were at, you have a host and they kind of like pick you up, they take you where you got to go. They did shots with us. It was pretty awesome. Yep. You ready? All right. Ryan Campbell! Bang! What up, Campbell? Bang! Raider gang. I'll be honest, I don't like that. I feel like it's too close to what the 49ers say. Can't wait for the season to start. 8 to 10 wins is my prediction. This news today is interesting. The Raiders have made 9 roster moves today. Coming up here on the show, I'm going to break down each and every one of those. And with that bang, that put Ryan Campbell in 4th place today. And our top fans right behind Cass Joey, right behind White Hat. But everybody is trailing this guy and this guy right here because Lord Cameron Abbott. Bang! It's fun to stay at the LCA. Raiders will be 10-8. That's my prediction. So you're predicting them to lose in the first round of the playoffs. Genty, 1,500 rushing yards, 10-plus touchdowns. Let's go, Raiders. I mean, as much as I would hate for the Raiders to lose that first playoff game, I mean, I'll tell you this right now. I would be super, super proud of this organization to make it to the playoffs. And maybe that's what you're saying. Maybe it's like what you're not saying. I don't know exactly. But I'll tell you this. I would be very, very happy if the Raiders made the playoffs. Even if we lost that first game. Of course, you want to win. But you got to make it there first. What up, Blaine? How much do you think today's signing impacted the likelihood of signing Simmons or Hilton? I don't know if it has any impact on being real. Simmons wants to sign with a playoff contender. Maybe he doesn't think the Raiders are a playoff contender. For a player like Mike Hilton, I would say it was always maybe a little bit of a less opportunity for him to be able to come in to this team. But like Jamal Adams, none of the 5 signings that were added here, like Justin Simmons and Mike Hilton, whether the Raiders signed those 2 guys or not, it's not because of the 5 moves that the Raiders made. Quite frankly, I think the 5 moves that the Raiders made today for their additions, if you told me 1 out of the 5 makes the roster, I would say that that's 2 just win babies, right? Like, I don't even know. I would say there's a 50% chance that 1 out of the 5 players that the Raiders signed today end up making the roster. Like, here's my question to you. Out of the 5 players that the Raiders signed today, how many do you think make the roster? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Let me know. Let's go to the Night Devil. I sent a hashtag Raiders, but since this just happened, I said they would sign 2 more players to make training camp extra competitive and put at all players on notice. What do you think? I mean, they went out and signed 5 players. They ended up cutting 4. I think when you make this type of statement, I think it's, again, the Raiders just trying to show that, hey, we're going to add competition. We're going to add players into the mix, and we've seen this Raiders team add some veterans, right? Like, that's what they've done this offseason. They've added some veterans that people have kind of pushed away to the side, and if you can add a veteran that's hungry, that wants to prove that he still deserves a job here in the NFL, then you can get that, and maybe they'll make the rookies a little bit better. I think that's the hope. More competition is what Pete Carroll wants, and this team is adding a lot of competition. Rafael Murillo, what up, dude? R.I.P. Sir Ozzy Osbourne, 76 years young. I will never forget the feeling of the crowd going wild to Crazy Train and Clutch Time back into town. Just win, baby. Yeah, I mean, I think Ozzy, I said this earlier, the only positive that I'll say comes out of this is I know Ozzy right now is up there with my man Brandon Jasper. They're probably debating about top 5 guitarists, top 5 bands. Hell, Ozzy's probably biting a head off of a bat up there as we stand right now. I think that, there are legends in anything that we do, and I think Ozzy Osbourne is a name that everybody knows the name Ozzy Osbourne. At least I would say 99% of people do. But anytime the world loses a legend, he lived life to the absolute fullest. I don't think there's any denying that. But R.I.P. to the great Ozzy Osbourne. But if there's one positive thing out of it, I guarantee you him and Brandon Jasper up there are debating right now a lot of top 5s. Because that's so much up Brandon's alley. It's no doubt about it. Oh, man. Patrick Roche! Bang! From the top Roche! The July Bang MVP. The man, the myth, the legend. He lives on, and he is fighting and clawing to keep that title for the MVP for the month of July. And reminder, whoever is the Bang MVP for the month of July, you are going to go home. Well, you're not really going to go home. You're probably already going to be home. You're going to be in our fantasy football league here at the Raiders Report. Winner is going to be announced July 31st. Reminder, every $5 super chat that we get, you're entered in for a chance to get in that raffle. Patrick Roche, dude. Live Oak. Patrick Roche, you owe my wife's husband a new door. He broke mine because of your bang. Oh, Patrick Roche, dude, you've been a freaking legend. And there's certain people, to the Night Devil, to Patrick Roche. These are some of our new, I'll call them big bangers here on this show. I can't wait for you guys to see the regular season because this program gets absolutely chaotic. And I love what the energy y'all been bringing. Matthew Locks just said down below, Patrick Roche, let's go, and a loud bang. Love it, man. Love it. All right, so coming up here, let's talk about the 9 roster moves. 9 roster moves that the Las Vegas Raiders have done today. You ready? Y'all ready? Can I get some 9s down below? That was also my baseball number. If you didn't know, 9 was my baseball number. Actually, one of the reasons why I chose 9. Well, actually, I wanted to be 6. Some guy stole that from me. I said, all right, you can take it. But Rebel already knew it. 69. Shout out to my man Reb. One more thing here real quick. I see a few people got in the duck race. Gary Backus, Rustin Long, Patrick Roche. Here's going to be my deal. If you want to get in the duck race, $20 Venmo. Right now you go home with $240. If you send in a $40 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365, I'm going to count it as 3 ducks. That deal is going to stand. Deal's going to stand until after this next segment. So probably 12, 15 minutes worth. So if you want to take advantage of it, let's go. All right, let's get into the 9 roster moves by the Las Vegas Raiders. Raider Nation, what a day it has been. The Las Vegas Raiders have made 9 roster moves today. I know they showed up to training camp. Pete Carroll is getting busy. Coming up here on today's show, I am going to go through and I'm going to walk you guys and talk about all 9 of the Raiders roster moves. 5 signings, 4 cuts have happened. But this is why I want you guys to hit that subscribe button. It's why I want you to turn on your notifications. When breaking news happens around the Raiders, I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to talk about it from top to bottom. I want to be able to talk about analysis. I like being able to interact with y'all. And if you've been pulled up with us live, we've been live for almost 4 hours at this point. If you're a diehard Raiders fan, nobody's going to keep you more up to date than the Raiders Report. So first off, let's talk about the 2, we'll call them maybe biggest moves that have happened today. And I would say the signing of Jamal Adams is probably the biggest. Also, the Raiders went out. They signed Philip Dorsett. So that's 2 of the moves. We still got 3 more to talk about. The reason why the Raiders decided to bring in Jamal Adams, I think, is the overall coaching connection with him and Pete Carroll. Again, they were together for 4 years in Seattle. I'll admit, I don't love the signing of Adams, quite frankly. I think the 5 players that the Raiders signed, if you were to tell me 1 out of the 5 ends up making the roster, I'd probably give that 2 just win babies if I'm being totally transparent. Now, Adams has had some injury issues over the past, which has been very well noted. He's also had some off-the-field issues as well, which I have said multiple times on this show, and I don't know if he's all that of a great human being, but he does add some more depth to this safety room, which maybe that's what the Raiders are looking for. Maybe they're looking for a little bit of extra competition with some of these younger safeties, but I'll tell you this, for a guy like Chris Smith, for a guy like Trey Taylor, for a guy like Hudson Clark, the signing of Jamal Adams has got to make you a little bit nervous. Let's go to another move here that the Raiders decided to make today, and they're going to go out, they're going to sign wide receiver Philip Dorsett. Now, Dorsett is an 8-year NFL veteran, and to me, when I think of Philip Dorsett, I think of some of his years with the New England Patriots. I think of some of his years even with, like, the Indianapolis Colts very early on in his career. But to me, you always got to talk about connections, and he played multiple seasons with Tom Brady in New England. The 2 years that he played with Tom Brady, he had 32 catches. He had only 18 catches. But this is somebody that has worked with Brady, and we know how important that those type of relationships are. In 2019 on the New England Patriots, he had 29 catches for 397 yards. Last season, did not play in the NFL, but in 2023 was a member of the Denver Broncos, and we know that the Raiders brought over Brian Stark in that front office. In 2021, he was on the Seattle Seahawks where he played in 2 games, had only 1 catch, so there's a little bit of overlap there with Pete Carroll. Another move that the Raiders made was going out and getting cornerback J.T. Woods. Now, for a player like Woods, he is long, he's lanky, and that's the reason why this move was made. We know Pete Carroll values athletic corners, and J.T. Woods is a very athletic corner who ran a 4.36 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. And it's funny, though, Pete Carroll a few hours ago was talking about how confident he was in some of these younger corners, and now he goes out and adds some guys, veterans, in that secondary. Another move that the Las Vegas Raiders made, signed offensive guard Antonio Mafi, and his connection comes with Chip Kelly. Played 4 years at UCLA from 2018 to 2022. I'll be transparent. The Mafi numbers, they're not very good. He did not play last season, and in the year of 2023, he was a player that had about 468 snaps, played predominantly at left guard, did play a few at right guard, had a very low overall PFF score of 32.3, but I think that this is just more competition to be able to add to this offensive line, which is what this Raiders team is trying to do. Another move that the Raiders decided to make, they signed wide receiver Seth Williams. 6'2", 211 pounds, played college football at Auburn. Last played in the NFL in 2021. I will say this, he was at least on a few practice squads, and the team that he played for in 2021 was the Denver Broncos. And anytime you hear Denver draft, again, you got to think of Brian Stark, who the Raiders recently brought in. But he was recently on the DC Defenders and didn't really get a lot of playing time even on the Defenders. I know right now some of y'all are probably looking at that depth chart. Zachary Franklin, we'll talk about him in a moment. He was one of the players that the Raiders just cut. So in the 9 roster moves that the Raiders made, we will break that down here in just a moment. But Seth Williams, a wide receiver, was added. So right now as it stands, we got a safety, a cornerback, 2 wide receivers, an offensive guard. Those are the 5 moves that the Las Vegas Raiders have made so far today in terms of adding to the roster. But what's really important is going into today, the Raiders could have added 1 player. And I'll talk about the cuts after I talk to you guys about this awesome deal. Ashton Jeanty jerseys, they are on sale. You can go to chatsports.com/Jeanty, and if you buy the jersey right now, you're going to be able to save $26 on today's program. This deal might not be available tomorrow. It might not be available an hour from now. I don't know. Depends how many Raiders fans are taking advantage of this deal. Chatsports.com/Jeanty. That link's down in the comments, and it's going to be down in the description of today's program. So let's go to the moves that the Raiders also had to make, because again, the Raiders, by them adding player after player after player, they had to move on. So because the Raiders signed 5 players, they had to cut 4. Mello Dotson, he was a UDFA cornerback from Kansas. I'm actually a little bit disappointed at that one. Out of all these names on here, he was the one that I was probably the most excited about, and quite frankly, he was the one that I'm a little bit most shocked about. Zachary Franklin, he was a UDFA wide receiver from Illinois. He actually was somebody that Dante Thornton Jr. in our latest interview that I did with him last week, it was actually not last week, 2 weeks ago, on July 10th, he mentioned Zachary. He's a good blocker. Not the most athletic player, but that's somebody that gets moved on from. Keyshawn Smith, he was somebody that was added after the NFL draft, right around Raiders rookie minicamp. And then Jalen Walker, UDFA linebacker from Indiana. Those are the 4 roster moves that the Raiders had to make. Now, some of you might be going, well, Mitch, don't we have an extra roster position because of Christian Wilkins? I just want to say this again. Christian Wilkins still counts towards that 90-man roster. He's on the PUP list. I get it. In the regular season, he would not count. At this current time in this offseason, he still counts towards the Raiders' 90-man roster, technically 91. So Mello Dotson, he unfortunately ended up getting cut today. Jalen Walker, he unfortunately ends up getting cut today at the linebacker position. And now, as it stands right now, the Raiders' 9 roster moves that they made today. They signed Jamal Adams, safety. They signed cornerback J.T. Woods, wide receiver Philip Dorsett, wide receiver Seth Williams, guard Antonio Mafi, and they waived cornerback Mello Dotson, Zachary Franklin, Keyshawn Smith, and Jalen Walker. I have been live on this channel now for getting close to 4 hours, and my pledge that I'll always say is we're always going to have a good time. We're always going to have fun, but I will always do my best to be able to keep you guys up to date. The fact that the Raiders training camp did start today, I anticipated a move or 2 to end up going down overall, but this is a flurry of moves. And I think what Pete Carroll is always going to try to do is he's going to try to wake some guys up, and I think he wants to be able to give opportunities. Like the signing of Philip Dorsett, the signing of Jamal Adams, to me, are very similar to the signing of a Devin White, where these are probably guys that this organization believes in, just in terms of the people, the players that they are. And if they show up healthy, if they show up motivated, then they're going to get, not only for them, they have some upside. I don't really think that they do. Maybe the Raiders think that. That's what I'm saying. But you're also going to have to try to get extra competition after some of those younger players. So I got to know down below, A, B, C, D, or F. I want you to grade the Raiders' moves today. A, you absolutely love all of them. B, these are good moves. C, it's average. D, it's bad. F, it's a big old fat fail. For me personally, I'll just say for where we are in the offseason, me as a content creator, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, which I appreciate. I'm probably going to go C minus D plus, though, because I'll be real with you. I don't think that any 5 of these players makes the roster. If I had to guess which one do I think is the most likely, I'll say Jamal Adams, but if we were talking about just win babies, I'd probably give 2 just win babies, maybe 1 just win baby, on the chance that even 1 out of the 5 players ends up making the roster. I'm confident in the Raiders wide receiver room, so for Seth Williams and for Phillip Dorsett, I don't think that they make it. At the cornerback position, I don't see JT Woods making it. Safety, Jamal Adams. Like, if the Raiders keep a guy like Jamal Adams over a Trey Taylor, shame on you, because I don't know how you keep a guy like Jamal with some of the off-the-field shit that he's done, where then you have a very stand-up human being in Trey Taylor. And then with Mafi, I get that he's got the connection, but he's not going to be somebody that you keep over the 2 rookies that you drafted. He's not better than Thayer Munford. So overall, to me, these are players that are just extra depth bodies for Raiders training camp, which kicks off tomorrow, where they put on the pads. Oh, man, you want to talk about random players on your bingo card. I'll tell you this. If you would have told me today that I'd be talking about Jamal Adams, Phillip Dorsett today on the Raiders Report, I don't know if I would have believed you, quite frankly. I don't know if I would have believed you, but that's what makes the show fun. I think that's what makes the offseason fun. You never know what's going to happen. Jeremy Cole's going to say C-. Yoda Jenkins is going to go with a C. I see Chewy says C. JJ Wiggly's going to go with a C. Wolverine 0808 is going to go with a D. Any of these go to practice squad from Yoda. Mafi could be an interesting guy for practice squad because of his Chip Kelly connection. I don't think Phillip Dorsett goes to practice squad personally. I think we would keep other receivers above him. Jamal Adams, I don't think goes to a practice squad. Again, these guys can prove me wrong, but Seth Williams, I don't think makes this roster. JT Woods, maybe he's a practice squad guy. I think that these are just camp bodies because of training camp. So, speaking of bodies right now, somebody by the name of Lord Cameron Abbott is really been climbing this top fans. And this is a brand new feature here on the Raiders Report. And we're going to be giving away some raffle tickets today on the program. Essentially, if you're in the top 20, you're getting some raffle tickets today here on the Raiders Report. And some of you might be wondering, Mitch, how do I get in the top 20? By commenting, by sending in a super chat. Those are the 2 ways that YouTube has told us you can get into YouTube's top fans. And it's going to be something that I probably bring up from time to time on this program. And because today it's been a little bit of a crazy day, let's be honest. If you finish in the top 3, I'm going to give you 50 raffle tickets for our fantasy football raffle. If you finish from 4 to 10, I'm going to give you 25 raffle tickets. And if you finish from 11 down to 20, I'm going to give you 10 raffle tickets for a shot to win and get in our Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. So, the only thing we have left to do here on the program is to do a duck race. That is until the Raiders decide to probably sign another 10 guys and move on from 9. I don't know. Today's been a whirlwind, no doubt about it. I'm going to refresh my phone here, and I see a few people took advantage of the deal that I presented. So I see Yoda Jenkins, and I see Lord Cameron Abbott getting in the duck race. So that means, as it stands now, $20 Venmo. You would go home with $300 here on today's program. $300, $20 Venmo, Mitchell Renz, 365. I mean, yep, unless we get more, but again, I don't think, we might get more. We might end up getting some more. Wouldn't be mad about it. Do you want to film real quick, or do you think we did a good enough job to get the 9 roster moved short? Yep, let's do that. Yep. Sounds good. All right, y'all, so here's what we're going to do. Just because I'll always be transparent on this show, I'm going to film something real quick here for about 60 seconds, and that is going to be put as a short on the YouTube channel, and also that way I can share it on my social media on Twitter, and I can also share it on Instagram as well. So just can't control life. You rock, Mitch? I appreciate that. Rock, paper, scissors? Does anybody want to play real quick? while Cullen's getting this ready. All right, you ready? The count of 3, we're going to play rock, paper, scissors. If you win, let me know. If you lose, it's okay. If we tied, we tied. So obviously, I'm going to go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. That's how we're going to do this, okay? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You ready? You guys ready? If anybody records themselves doing the rock, paper, scissors, and whether you win or I lose, if you tweet it at me or tag me on Instagram at Mitchell Renz 365, I'm going to share some of these because I think it'd be cool to see who I beat, who beats me, pause, and then who ended up tying with me. So you guys ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Cullen beat me. All right, we're going to go again. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Dude, Cullen's 2 for 2 against me. You know what's wild? Alex and I always play rock, paper, scissors. If I had to say my win rate, I bet you it's probably like 30%. She's a legend at rock, paper, scissors. Def Halo said rock. Raider Prime, I win. All right, hey, if you beat me in rock, paper, scissors, tweet at me at Mitchell Renz 365. Or you can tag me on Instagram. Tag me on like the IG story. I'll share the ones that I see. I can't share everyone because I'm not going to see everyone, but I will do my best, I promise you, to share them because why not? I think it's kind of cool. All right, we're going to go through the 9 roster moves that the Raiders made. Obviously, we're going to have to go through these quickly. Cool? All right, ready? Here we go. The Las Vegas Raiders have made 9 roster moves. The big one, signing safety Jamal Adams. He's got that connection with Pete Carroll. Another move that the Raiders made, cornerback J.T. Woods. Reminder, he ran a 4.36 40-yard dash just a few years ago at the Combine. Antonio Mafi, we talk about connections. He played 4 years with Chip Kelly at UCLA from 2018 to 2022, the offensive guard. At wide receiver, Philip Dorsett. I know he didn't play last season, but he did play at least 2 seasons with Tom Brady over with the New England Patriots. More connections there for the wide receiver. And then UFL wide receiver Seth Williams. I think this is, again, probably just a little bit more of just a depth play. More special teams guys during training camp is very, very important. And with those 5 moves, the Raiders had to move on from at least 4 players. Reminder, they cut Carter Bradley to free up a spot, and still with Christian Wilkins, he counts against the 90-man roster despite being on the PUP. If it was a regular season, then he wouldn't. You move on from cornerback Mello Dotson, wide receiver Zachary Franklin, wide receiver Keyshawn Smith, and then linebacker Jalen Walker. If you want to stay up to date on all things going on around the Raiders, subscribe to the Raiders Report on YouTube. All right, man. Last call for the duck race to get in. $20 Venmo. Mitchell Renz 365. Right now you'd have an opportunity to go home with, I believe, 300 doll hairs. Though I did just see, somebody just messaged me. Oh, dude, bet, let's do it. Shout out to my guy, Baron Davis, watcher of the program, just messaged me. He goes, if you guys didn't see Baron, he's just got a new gig for the Raiders talk show TV. He said he's going to get me on the program. So shout out to Baron Davis, man. I would love to be able to get on the program. Appreciate you watching, Baron. Man, that's a legend right there. That's a legend. So somebody just tagged Seth. Tag me on IG. Somebody just sent me a video of them beating me in rock, paper, scissors. His name's Seth on Instagram. Seth, you got to post it, dude. Tag me on IG, Seth. I got you. I got you. All right, let me look real quick here. On Venmo, last call to get in, I see Gerard Butler. Imagine if it was actually Gerard Butler. To me, the most famous people that I know watch this show, Bray Wyatt used to watch before he passed away, RIP to him. Right now, I would say I know the most famous people that watch this show. Dame Lillard watches. George Lopez watches, actually. He DM'd me a few times on Twitter talking Raider stuff with me, which I would say that was probably the most mind-blowing one because I showed my wife, Alex, her family, they're Mexican, obviously. And, George Lopez he's like the guy. You know, he's He's like, if you woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning when you were a kid, chances are George Lopez was on there, or Girls Gone Wild. It was probably the only two. It was probably one of the only two. So, all right, I'm looking. I don't see anybody else. Cullen, if you could, let's get that duck race a-rolling. Robert Jansen, you're right. You know what, Robert, you're right. The most famous people that watch this show, George Lopez, Damian Lillard, Baron Davis, Robert Jansen. I'd say, to my knowledge, maybe there's more. Maybe there's more. David Zahn, also on there. Emmanuel Sanchez. Girls Gone Wild at night, dude. I mean, it was crazy. Do you all remember The Man Show? Like, imagine the show like The Man Show. Drinking beers like this. It was on Comedy Central. They had a segment, Cullen, at the very end of the show. I'm not even going to say what they called women because I think I'd get in trouble for it. But it was women who were physically attractive jumping on trampolines as guys watched and drank beer. It's a great, crazy show, dude. Crazy show, dude.
Crazy.
All right, speaking of crazy, this is a monster race, I think is what we have. 31 people in the race, which means somebody's going to go home with $310 on today's show. Served girls on trampolines. Yeah, they didn't call them girls.
No, they did not.
No, they did not. You ready?
I'm ready.
Y'all ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's run it. Winner of this shit show race is going to go home with $310. Luckily for all y'all, Victor Lobos is not in the race. Victor Lobos has won 25% of his races. He's raced 16 times. I'll tell you this is neck and neck. I'm a little bit confused why it's like, I think there's aliens, there's some predators in here.
There's a Pillsbury
Definitely
Doughboy.
Godzilla, a T-Rex, and somehow the Michelin Man.
Yeah.
Like, is the Michelin Man deserve to be here? I guess this is King Kong.
I guess, yeah.
I can't even tell you who's in
We got
first
two different
place,
types of
quite frankly.
dinosaurs. We got, some aliens, some
Oh,
predators.
dude, Anthony Green just fell back, but I kind of like the way you're at. I mean, what is this creature, Yoda
this?
Jenkins?
What is this?
Mark Call in first place. Raider Sancho right here, 5 seconds. Somebody's got to make a move. It's going to be Gabriel Ruiz. I think it's going to be Ron Raspberry. The mod running away with it, man. Mr. Ron Raspberry. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Anytime one of our mods win, I do feel like that they deserve it, and I'm happy that they won. Congrats to Mr. Ron. Ron, if you could do me a solid, if you could please confirm down below that you just received $310. That would be much, much appreciated. Yo, does the Cloverfield monster? I mean, Anthony Green, I'm worried about you. Cameron came in second. Patrick Roche came in third. Who gets the butthole pick? Who gets the big prize? It might be Anthony Green because you fell off the map. Yoda Jenkins. Yoda Jenkins air. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, man.
Gotta love it.
31st place. Yoda, I'll be sending that to you shortly. Yoda. There you go. Check your DMs, Yoda.
There we go.
Dude, what a crazy day today has been on the Raiders Report, dude. Crazy day for the nation. 9 roster moves were made. I told Cullen, I go, we're going to go live today a little bit earlier, 1 o'clock for the Pete Carroll Presser. And, we'll be able to get out a little bit earlier. Raiders said no. But I'm okay with that. Today was a fun day. I think today was proof that we're so close being back to football again.
So close, man.
It's training camp going 2 weeks? And the Raiders are going to be playing the Seattle Sea Chickens? Does that hurt your feelings?
No.
No?
Not a little bit. Gotta do better than that, Mitch.
Who's better, Sam Darnold or Geno Smith?
Ooh. I'd say right now Geno, but Darnold has, because he's younger, more potential.
Okay.
Right now he is.
Hey, fair enough. How many wins do you think Seattle gets?
I think they'll be somewhere between 6 to 9. They'll push for 10.
Nice.
But yeah.
Attaboy. Rebel, that one was for
Just
you.
random numbers, by the way.
Yeah, totally random.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are definitely, after
Yeah.
hearing girls on trampolines in the man show, he's like 6 to 9 wins for the Seattle Seahawks.
There we go.
All right, y'all. I'm like almost worried to sign off because I feel like as soon as I sign off, the Raiders are going to do some more stuff. But seriously, to everybody that tuned in to today's live program, huge shout out to all of y'all. Before I go, you show the Raiders-Chiefs matchup for me because this Thursday, monumental Madden live stream game. The winner wins the AFC West.
Big one.
Chugs will be back with us on Thursday, so if you guys could, can I get some Cullens down below for pulling up today on a crazy Raiders live show day?
Appreciate that.
I mean, you know, I always say we don't keep any of the Venmos. We don't keep any of the Super Chats, and I hope people believe me when I say that, and I hope people have also seen how much Chat Sports has grown, how much the Raiders Report has grown, how much more content we are able to make for all of y'all because we invest that money and being able to pay people to do this job full time where, you know, we give 401ks, we give benefits, you get PTOs. Like this might be surprising. I know some of y'all think that we're doing this in our basement, but we do this because we want to be able to provide even more content for Raiders fans. And in years past, if I didn't have Chugs, I'll be honest, like I wouldn't have been able to go live today, right? So the fact that Cullen was here is just another testament of every person that supports this show. I promise you, it's always going to go back to getting more content for Raider Nation. It's going to go back to get more content to everybody because one of the things that I'll be doing this year, I'm going to be live for basically every Monday Night Football game. Not here on the Raiders Report, on our main YouTube channel over on Chat Sports. So if you're going to watch Monday Night Football, you want to pull up with me over on that channel with thousands and thousands of people, I hope that you do it. And why are we able to do that? Because of everyone who always supports this program and everybody who always supports this channel. So I want you guys to reminder, this Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, Raiders versus Chiefs. If we win, we are the second seed, I believe, and the AFC West champions. If the Raiders lose, we are the 4 seed, and we will play the Baltimore Ravens. So it's either Raiders win and win the AFC West and play the Bengals the first week of the playoffs, or Raiders lose, get the 5 spot in the wild card, and have to go to Baltimore to play the Ravens. So, yeah. Tough matchups no matter what, but if you want to be the best, you got to take down the best as far as I'm concerned. I'll see you guys Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, if any other breaking news happens, I promise you I will keep you up to date. From me, from Cullen Brown over there to the entire nation, shout out to our MVPs, which I should have said this. Cameron, you got a brand new record here. Most XP points so far on a live Raiders Report show, 10,150. That is a new record. To White Hat and Cast Joey, you guys are getting 50 raffle tickets. To Ryan Campbell, Patrick Roche, Gary Backus, Ron Raspberry, Venthrak, Night Devil, and then Bishop, you guys are going to get 25 tickets. And then Malachi, the King Snake, Richard Black, Eric Mitchell, Blaine Craig, Rebel Montana, Emmanuel Sanchez, Drew, JJ Wigley, and 808. You guys are getting 10 raffle tickets for the fantasy football raffle. All right, now I'm done. Peace out. Go eat.